That CPU is cranking up. Give it room to breathe. Yeah. Okay. Up out the chat. This would help. Over. Live chat. Put this over here. Can I force that to stay on top? No, I can't. Hello, Dan. First victim. Mr. Mark Gibson. Good morning, Ingo from Germany. Stan Lee. How's Detroit handling this mess? That's another big city. Yipper. I'm hoping eventually to build a an add-on on the back of the house, a 12 by 12 room, just so that I can get this kind of stuff out of my living room. But right now, there's no place else to put it. Hey, 3D Jimmy. Ah, you early guys. Let me show you a little treat. You know that big giant, or the extendable katana sword thing that they have available? Well, yep. I made a really big one. You can barely hang on to the thing. The trick was to not print the top. That allowed me to push the entire assembly out of the sword and work and break it free so that I could actually extend it. Good. So, yeah, that thing's big. But the whole thing is I could pop the whole entire assembly out of the inside. And I actually had to... Eventually, I got these... I got a Slim Jim for the car, hoping to use that. It hasn't arrived yet. But I also got these feeler gauges. Anything I could that was long enough to try to free up the joints inside of here. The solution ended up being... Take this and just beat the living shit out of it. Just bang, bang, bang until each layer popped out. So now I'll just print the remainder of this and gloop it on there. I have not successfully gotten a small one to work yet, though. I printed one in PLA and I printed one in ABS, and both of them are seized together. I know why they're seizing together. It's when it jumps from one ring to the other ring, and you get that little bit of zit between the two. Now, a couple of those, no big deal, but when you add it up to, 300 layers, those zits end up being pretty strong. Exactly, that's what I'm going to do. I already sliced the new end cap, I just haven't printed it yet. That took 2 days, if that. It wasn't that long. Remember, 1.2 millimeter nozzle, so it goes pretty fast. But I'm trying to get these to work. I see, this is something that I'm not good at. I am not good in the slicer at. Is these very close proximity parts. When they're short, they're no big deal. You can force them loose and make them work. Yeah, seriously. And that thing's strong enough that I could beat you with it. I mean, it's. I was taking that thing and whack on the table to try to break free the zit joints inside. That was on the Chiron with the 1.2 millimeter nozzle. Pretty good, Alexander. No printer today, but we're going to do PPE today. We're going to do a little bit of Tinkercad work, a little bit of explanation of what some of this PPE is. I just think it's an important topic. But next week, we will have the FL Sun Q5. That's their beginner's Delta printer. I don't know. I didn't check. I'll have to check and see. I didn't know you were sending a file, so it probably was in one of your messages, and I didn't notice. Yeah, a little bit. Still got the cough. Still got the very tiny, although the fever's almost gone. So, on the one hand, I'm deathly afraid of this coronavirus thing, and on the other hand, I kind of hope it's what I have, because that means it's mild and I don't have to worry about it. So, people who are overweight can experience complications with that virus, so got to be careful. That's also what I'm going to do. See, that's cheating. I am going to do that, and I'm actually going to design my own sword that's in multiple pieces because I want to design the whole thing in vase mode, so that'll be very light, very fast to print. But that's also cheating. I want to. Well, if you print them separately, you have to not print the cap, so you have to print it open, like I did this one. Okay, because it jams on this end so that it doesn't just fly out. Okay, so you have to take it out from this end. And yes, I've already got it sliced up where I print each individual piece and then just fill it, glue the cap on, and you're done. But that's kind of cheating. Hey, Scott. And Thomas Mueller from Austria. I also just got a contact from somebody I knew from Gearbest, and they're with a new company now. I don't want to give out names or anything like that because they didn't tell me. They didn't tell me I couldn't, but they didn't tell me I could either. But looks like I might have the longer orange 30 coming in. That is Longer 3D's larger SLA masking SLA printer. So it's got like a what's the build volume? Hang on. It's much bigger than the standard Photon, LEGO, etc. printers. Come on. Finish loading. Thank you. It is this bad boy right here. Yeah, the Ender can print PETG, no problem. Different hot ends will cause different effects. So the Predator, you might just need to slow down. The Predator's also going to have a longer Bowden tube, and that might cause an issue. What is the actual difference you're seeing, though? Like, what's the difference? Oh, really? You have to modify it to print it with vase mode because the pieces have thickness. So if you just print the stock pieces in vase mode, it will, they'll just pass right through each other. So they'd have to be scaled and adjusted appropriately. But you send me a link for the vase mode one. Good afternoon, 3D Medic. Nope, no more mice. And I haven't heard any indications of mice either. So it's also possible that now that there's warmer weather, there's other places they want to be besides in the house. Meaning it might be one of those things where it's only a winter problem. Because in the summer, they have no reason to want to be in the house. In the wintertime, the house is warmer. I don't know. I print my PETG at 255 Celsius with 25% fan. And I usually print it at 40, 45 millimeters a second. I'll have to look for the vase mode ones. If you have any links, send them to me. Because now I'm kind of addicted to these things. But the thing is, I want this to work. I know people successfully print this, so I know it can work. It's just I'm choosing the wrong slicer settings, and so I want to figure out what that is. I mean, I know what the problem is. I just haven't figured out how to get rid of that problem yet, because that problem is minor on regular prints, so I don't worry about it. PETG looks crystallized? Is it wet? But you said it prints fine on the ender. That's weird. Now, are you printing the same PETG on both printers? Did you take the roll of PETG that worked on the ender, off the ender, and put it on the Predator? Or are you talking about two different rolls of PETG? Because that's a very big difference. Well, I gotta plug these headphones in so we don't get any feedback. Where the hell's the ender? There it is. Otherwise, we might get feedback through the microphone. So DT Mash, are you using the same roll on both printers or two different rolls? Because it sounds like one roll might be wet. PETG is hygroscopic. It'll absorb water. By the way, I don't know if you guys have seen this in the stores. She's doing okay. I mean, I'm a little worried, but no breathing problems. So, as long as there's no breathing problems, we're safe. It's when you have breathing problems, that's when things get dangerous. Because that means it's starting to attack the lungs. Have you guys seen that they have Starburst juice mix flavors? They are freaking delicious. And sugar-free, too. I especially like them. Don't go higher because of gassing. Define gassing. Are you talking about outgassing of the PTFE, which won't happen at 255? Or are you talking about you're hearing gassing coming out of the filament? Because that would indicate water. Backpack is irrelevant. If it was put into the vacuum packaging already wet, then it doesn't really matter if it's vac-packed. Vac-pack just keeps it from getting any more wet, okay? So, your first job is to take the roll that you used on the ender that printed fine and put that exact roll on the Predator and see what it does. It could be V-wheels. It could be, there's several basic things to check. The vertical gantry is something that people don't always check very often because it's a little harder to check. It's not as easy as the X where you just, okay, I can feel it resisting and adjust the wheels. But what you need to do is remove your lead screw. So undo the set screws that hold the lead screw in place. But first, check to make sure those set screws are set properly. I had a problem on my Chiron where I was getting inconsistent layers, and eventually the X-axis actually started tilting as it printed. And it turns out that the grub screw on the coupler for one of the Z-axis motors, gassing, I thought you had to pass 260 for gassing. I'm pretty sure you got to pass 260 for gassing. On top of that, remember, the temperature of your block is not necessarily the temperature of your PTFE tube or your filament, because that temperature is going to drop as it passes through those materials. I wouldn't worry about it. If you're really worried about it, the only thing you're going to do is shorten the lifespan of the PTFE tube a little bit. Okay? So run 250 and 25% fan. That should be enough. I'm very happy today. I get to eat people. But, okay, I'm jumping around here, so I don't want to jump around too much. Your first job is to try the roll that worked successfully on the ender on the Predator. Okay, the most printing is, yes, so if you're printing at 255, you're probably right around 250 on the PTFE tube, which means you're fine. Remember, the PTFE tube is a consumable, it wears out over time. You do have to replace it every now and then. If you have a long enough Bowden tube, you can just snip off the bottom inch and put it back in, and you can do that a couple of times before you run out of length. You can also look into Luke Hatfield's modification to put the little washer in there and a pre-sized piece of PTFE in there. I like when people watch me. I'm good at being creepy. But, what was I going to say? Use Capricorn tube. It handles the higher temperatures a little more elegantly. It doesn't break down as fast. It is. It's drop dead gorgeous out. It is 11:30 in the morning, and it's already 65 degrees outside. Yeah. It's going to be like 67 today. At the zombie stream, is there 2 streams? Let me double check that. Let's see here. How would I even find? Oh, live. Oh, yes, there is. We don't want that. So let's get rid of this. More actions. Delete forever. Yeah, that was when I accidentally clicked copy last stream. And I shouldn't have clicked that. I didn't know it actually made one. Oops. But, hey, Sean. This is my buddy from Pennsylvania. This is the guy who drove 2 hours each way on many days to come and help me out. And I had to force him to take any kind of compensation from me. This is a good guy. He's the one who's holding my CR10 Max hostage. So somebody in Pennsylvania needs to go eat him. It's Chris Overload. The cantilevered bed is not a big deal as long as you remember that it's cantilevered. So the only 2 issues you're going to have is to make sure you don't manhandle the bed and make sure you don't bump or knock the printer while it's printing. When I first opened OBS, well, you see, the way OBS works, you have to open YouTube first, and you go to Livestream, and then you have multiple options, live or stream. So live would be the YouTube application that accesses your camera. Stream would be, it provides you a key and allows something like OBS or any other software to connect and do the stream. Well, it popped up a little window that says new stream or copy settings from previous stream. I clicked copy settings from previous stream, forgetting that I had a multi-stream with the Canadian guys. So all the settings were wrong. So I just hit back and hit, new. And I didn't realize that when I did that, it actually created a upcoming stream page. So people were logging into that apparently. So I had to go into the studio and delete that. Hey, 3D German nerd. Hey, here's a question for you guys. Windows has this has been driving me nuts for a couple of years. It's minor enough that I've never actually dug into fixing it. But Windows has this thing where if you put the mouse near the edge of the screen, sometimes it will remove all the windows from your screen, like a temporary minimize all. It's really freaking annoying. I think so. I think the sound is fixed. I hope the sound is fixed. It remembers my settings from last time, so I have the power turned down a little bit so we're not peaking too much. I never had that problem, John. How fast are you trying to print? Now, by default, I lower my acceleration and jerk to X5 P500. That might be a factor. But I get some of my absolutely best prints from my Ender 5s. I mean, absolutely best prints. I have a 0.2 millimeter nozzle on one. But I never tried to go really fast, so that might be an issue. They do make braces you can print to help stiffen that up a little bit. Yeah, anybody have any idea how to turn that off? I hate it. Because a lot of times what will happen is I'll put my hands on the keyboard and my arm will push the mouse to a corner and all the goddamn windows will go away. And I'll have to move the freaking mouse again to get it back. It's really annoying. X and Y acceleration shouldn't affect the cantilever bed. I never had a problem with that. Windows 7. This is cherry Starburst flavor. It's actually really good. Now I can, where is my, oh, that's a new window. That's fine. I should be able to lower latency. No, oh, I can't do it now. I would have to do that when I create the stream. Okay, so I'll remember next time to, because they do have an option to control latency. And I have a good enough connection to be able to go low latency. I print at 50 millimeters per second, but 60 millimeters per second should be fine. Gentlemen, this is why you install Windows 10 Pro and then you eviscerate Windows Update. I have Windows 10 on 2 computers, and those computers do not get updated, ever. Alright, if I want an update, Microsoft, I will ask you for it. Otherwise, stay the hell out of my computer. You cannot disable Windows Update on Windows 10 Home. Even if you do figure out how to disable it, it will re-enable it on its own. You have to be on Windows 10 Pro. You can get a license key for $15-20 on eBay to update to Pro. Do make sure you get the right key. There are 2 different kinds. There's Clean Install Pro and there's Upgrade Pro. You have to make sure you get the upgrade key. If you have horizontal banding, that's not the bed. If you want to confirm that, slow the printer down to 25%. You most likely have either, well, Z-axis wobble is uncommon on the Ender 5. Something would have to be really mangled, and you would probably be able to visibly see it, because the Z-axis is 2 very stout, smooth rails with the lead screw in the middle. Right click, taskbar. There is no taskbar properties, but I do have a properties. Use arrow peak to preview desktop. Gone. I believe that's the setting. Yay! So right click taskbar, properties, and then there's an option here. It says use arrow peak to preview desktop at the bottom. Oh, nice. Good. 3D Jimmy was helping me out with Fusion, and he was also helping out One Bad Marine, so he's a kick-ass dude. Just go on eBay and type Windows 10 Pro key. It's like $15-20, and make sure you get the one that says Windows 10 Pro Upgrade, not Clean Install. They are different. If you get the Clean Install key, it will not work. The thing to check is my Hotend rebuild video. My guess is you have a an issue in your Hotend that's causing inconsistent flow. Also, double check the feeder. The feeder arm that you squeeze to put filament in, sometimes that bolt is a little too tight, and then the arm doesn't consistently grab the filament, so you might be seeing a little bit of slippage. Make sure the grub screw on the feeder for the drive gear, the brass drive gear, make sure that grub screw is not slipping. Don't over tighten, you'll strip it. Make sure your PTFEs are not moving in and out. That could cause inconsistent extrusion. Inconsistent extrusion is not usually a Z banding issue because the whole layer will be inconsistent. If your entire layer is inconsistent, that might be the Z-axis. It's definitely not the bed wobbling, because if the bed was wobbling, it would be inconsistent. You would see, you know, thin, thick, thin, thick, thin, thick, thin, thick, thin. You would see that because it would be at the same frequency as the bed vibrating. Okay, if you're seeing entire layers, that's that could be the Z-axis. So loosen up on the actual part that attaches to the bed and has the 2 LMUU bearings and then the brass collet in the middle that the lead screw passes through. Loosen up those screws a little bit on the brass collet. Make sure you can jiggle that Z-axis rod a little bit. Then command the printer to go down and up. And then gently re-snug those screws. Don't tighten, just snug. If you have any pressure from that collet, that'll take care of that. What else? That's about it. The brass collet for the lead screw. The PTFE nozzle interface. Make sure there's no gap there. The feeder unit, the grub screws, for the grub screws for the drive gear. Make sure they're tight. Make sure the spring arm is not loose. Also, give the spring arm a little wiggle. Make sure it's not broken. I had mine break once, although usually that's a terminal failure. It'll just stop printing altogether. It doesn't usually continue printing. Also, check the grub screws on the coupler connected to the lead screw and the Z-axis stepper motor. If that's starting to come a little loose, you'll start to get inconsistent layers. That's about all I can think of offhand. One of those would usually be the problem. I don't know. There is, it might be Matter Hackers. Either Matter Hackers or someone else has a list of the temperatures you need to use. And do not set your oven temperature and toss your roll in there. Set your oven temperature, put a barbecue thermometer in there, and make sure it's actually hitting the temperature you assigned. There may be a variance. So you may tell your oven to do 120, but it's actually doing 130. So you may need to set it for 110 to get 120, for example. So verify that with one of those remote barbecue probes. You'll toss it in there, let the oven run for 30 minutes, and see if the temperature on the meter, on the gauge, actually matches the temperature in the oven, and create an offset chart if you need to. Well, there kind of is an action movie about 3D printing. It's called Lego movies. Legos is kind of pre-built 3D printing. Damn it, that's pretty good. That's the cherry flavor. They also had Skittles juice mix. I was like, wow, the green apple's pretty good. My tongue changed color? Yep. Yeah, so let's say the chart says you need to use 70 Celsius or 160 Fahrenheit. Set that for 160 or 70 and verify with a probe first after 30 minutes with the door closed that the oven is actually hitting the target temperature. Because if you go too hot, there goes that whole roll. So I got to work on my slicer settings for tuning for those little zits to stop that from happening. I'm surprised I'm getting zits with such a small bit. I wonder, do I have minimum retraction distance set for retraction? Like usually it's like 3 millimeters, and that's definitely less than 3 millimeters, so it might actually not be retracting when it jumps from layer to layer. Oh, really? Cool. Yeah, 3D printing is perfect for puppets. So this new longer printer that I hope to be getting has a build volume of 4.72 by 2.68 by 6.69 inches. And how big is that in millimeters? It's a 2K screen, 2560 by 1440, which is good. And it's a matrix LED array, which is fantastic. It says that's 120 by 68 by 170, but I'm pretty sure that's wrong. Oh, no, it's not. So it's not bigger. It's only slightly bigger. I was doing the math wrong in my head on what that scale was. So it looks like the build volume is 120 by 68 by 170. So, but it looks like I might be getting that. And of course I have the FL Sun Q5, which we'll be doing next week. Is there a clearasil setting? What's a clearasil setting for you, Jamie? I don't know what that means. Hey, Edge of Tech. Doing fine here. You know, not much has changed out here. We're pretty rural. So besides a slight reduction in traffic on the major roads, not much change. Hey, Chief, thank you. Any shelf you would recommend for holding two 3D printers? If you mean like an actual shelf that goes on the wall, well, that's just two brackets and a piece of wood, and that'll be fine. But my personal recommendation is these things. These wire rack shelves. You can also get them in plastic, and they work great. To remove zits. Well, if you could somehow get those pads in between those layers. So I got this. So these are little feeler gauges. Well, they're really big feeler gauges. But I figured, let's see, here's a thin one. So my idea was to get things like this, and then I can shove them in here to try to clear out these layers. And that works, except for the fact that that's not where the zits are. The zits are at the curves. And so, of course, this doesn't bend around the curves. What I need is something like that that's pre-bent, that I can shove down that curve to core out them zits. But what I really need to do is just to figure out the proper slicer settings to avoid that to begin with. Let me get this up so I can keep an eye on this. Get rid of those messages. I always tell people, just eat somebody. You'll feel better. Your mood will improve. Lots of protein. Just remember, be like Dexter. Only bad people. Now, PPE. I guess the first thing we should get the elephant in the room out of the way, and that's these things. You guys see these things all the time. These 3D printed masks. you know, like this. And you see these 3D printed masks. All right, these are bad news for your shop. You know, in the shop, you know, for dust filtration and stuff like that. You know, a dust storm outside, things like that. They're great. Okay, but they are no good for a pandemic situation like this. And that's because a lot of people don't realize what the mask is actually for. Where is my... There it is. Okay. It's up on the screen. I don't think it's coming from the start. I think it's coming from the passage. So you're printing this layer and you're printing this layer. I don't think it's over extruding here. That's not a problem. So it's not like it's going bleh and it's blowing out and it's connecting the two layers. I think it's dribbling filament when it jumps from point to point. Hey, don't forget, today is census day, so if you haven't filled out your census, go fill it out today. What Simplified 3 what Simplified 3D needs is a inside-outside option, but not inside of print, outside of print. Inside of part, outside of part. So if I'm printing 3 perimeters, I want it to print this middle perimeter first, then print this perimeter, or vice versa. This way, if there's any shenanigans going on with the start and finish, it's here in the middle. Yes, well, the problem is it has to cross an open space. If you're printing this, and this is not here, okay? Remember, it's multiple islands, okay? At some point, you have to jump from here to here, and then you have to jump from here to here. That's not an option. You have to do it at some point. And I think that's what's happening. I have retract, I have wipe. I think I'm getting random little zits. I'm not sure why. It's I don't know, but this thing is a solid piece. I mean, these are definitely separate. I can move them. See here? See, they move. I think at the jump point, when it's jumping from one part to the other, I'm getting a little bit of dribble from there. And even if it only does it once every 10 layers, it's doing it enough. Middle first, yes. I think it's doing it enough that you eventually get enough zits to where you can't pull the part apart. I've even tried yanking it out, but these pliers don't grip very well. But they're the only ones small enough to get in here. So I figure if I can get one out, I can get the rest out. So it's in there good enough that I can't yank it out. Like I said, on the big one, I had to use this. It's actually dented up. I had used this as a hammer. I was like, pound, pound, until those inserts would pop out. I tried to do random as well. That didn't seem to work. Z-hop usually increases zits because you're increasing your you're increasing your transient time. You want to decrease your usually you want to decrease your transient time as much as possible. But if all I have is an itty bitty tiny bit of ooze, and that ooze is simply being scraped off when it jumps over, Z-hop might fix that. That's a good point, because I know on 3D printing is PPE safe if you do it right. Okay? Things like this are not safe. And let's go over why. Okay? By the way, I do have a 3D printed solution for that. You have to understand what the purpose of the mask is. Why do we wear the mask? All right? The purpose of the mask is not to protect you. Okay, in a hospital, it's to protect the doctor and the patient. That's why they have to wear N95s. Okay, that's a very different kind of PPE. We're talking about standard PPE that your average citizen's going to wear. Hair dryers don't work because hair dryers don't loosen plastic printed parts. They allow the parts to flow, and the parts will always flow in the direction of their tension. So when you print a part, you have a built-in tension, and that tension isn't acted upon because it's a solid. If you get it to a semi-liquid state, it's going to act on the tension and warp to reduce that tension. I tried coasting. I have 8 millimeters of wipe enabled. I was hoping the 8 millimeters of wipe would separate the stop point and the start point where it jumps over to the next layer, and keep the zits from being on the curve. Well, this year, this is not much plastic. I don't care. But my next print, I'm definitely going to print these from now on without the cap on, so that I can punch them through from the other side if I have to. Good afternoon, Paul. I saw your tweets, but I haven't had a chance to mess with it yet. So why are these masks bad news when they are 3D printed like that? Why is that bad news? That's because of what the mask is for. Okay, you got to think of yourself as an old hoplite soldier, an old Spartan soldier. Okay, your armor protects you. Your shield protects your citizens. It protects your fellow people. Protects your community. All right. The mask is a shield. It's not there to protect you. It's to protect everybody else from you. All right. When you wear a mask, it's because you're the danger. All right. People say, "But I'm not sick." Yes, you are. You might not know it, but most of you are. 50 to 75% of everybody who is carrying this virus is asymptomatic. What that means is they display no symptoms. In every country where they've done mass testing on the entire population in general, the percentage has never been below 50%. It has always been 50% or higher. There you go, nanites would be awesome. Then I wouldn't need a 3D printer. I could just tell them to build me the thing. Build me a titanium sword, please. That would be awesome. I just finally got the notification for my live stream. Boy, that took a while. It took an hour. But the mask is not there to protect you. It's there to protect your fellow community members. Their masks protect you. Okay? You don't. Not this way. Okay? But I'll show you how to make a mask. Your armor is washing your hands, social distancing, not touching your face. When you have to go to the grocery store, you want to be a missile with a target, okay? You got target lock and you got the afterburner going. You get in, you go straight to what you need, you get what you need, you get the hell out, okay? That's what you got to do. Don't touch anything in the store that you don't intend to buy, because you could be transferring germs between you and the store, okay? There are other things you can do to help protect yourself. If you're going to be interacting with customers, I'm actually thinking about seeing if the local grocery store people want them or not. Until everybody's wearing masks, they probably won't. But for example, face shields will provide you with protection. Now that spray pattern doesn't have a direct path into your face. Okay? That's why people in the hospital wear them. You can also make things like this. A no-touch hook. Okay? The idea of this, you hang this on your shirt. Putting it in your pocket's a bad idea because you're just transferring all the germs in your pocket. So this would clip onto your shirt like this, and this would simply hang here in front of you. And you would grab your hook and use it to open a door that's not automatic. Use it to press a button on an elevator, although you should avoid elevators, period. Elevators are just a pretty much guaranteed way to get it. Because the virus can aerosolize and hang in the air for an hour or two, and elevators is where that's going to happen. But it's important that the reason I hang this from my shirt is so that I don't touch this part. So this I can use to open doors Yes, you can clip it to your belt as well. I'm fat, so that doesn't work too well. So I have it sitting here. All right, the idea is, and that's the reason I have the hook on this end here, to attach it, so that I never have to touch the contaminated end. And when you get home, you clean this. Okay, just IPA, 70% or better. All right, and now you have to remember, you want to minimize the use of this too, because if I use this to touch an infected surface, this is now infected. And every time I use it somewhere else, I'm passing that infection along. All right, so you want to minimize your use of it, but you go to ATM machine, use this to push the buttons. Okay, you have to open a door that's not automatic. You can use this to open the door. You're protecting yourself. All right. The mask also indirectly protects you. Okay, this is why I advocate for everybody to wear masks. And I mean everybody. Your kid, your grandpa, you, and you. Every single person in this country should be wearing a mask right now. Don't wear the disposable stuff. All right? Our medical personnel need the disposable stuff. You know, the N95 masks stay on per shift. But the regular disposable masks, the surgical masks that they wear, just IPA. 70% or higher IPA will kill the virus. But it has to be 70% or higher. Isopropyl alcohol. Be careful with the stylus pen, because every time you use that pen to touch something and then you touch the pen, you just infected yourself. No, when I say infected, I mean you now have that on you. Okay, you can't get the virus by touching. Okay, that's not how it works. You get the virus when you touch an infected surface and then do this. If you want to see how bad of a problem this is, go watch the news briefing from the head of the CDC from a couple weeks ago. She is on nationwide television telling people, don't touch your face. And then she goes, nem, and changes the page. Because it's subconscious. You don't even think about it. Well, if you have one of these on your face, it's a constant reminder. You're going to go, oh, wait, I can't do that. Oh, wait, I can't do that. It's a constant reminder to not touch your face. That's the secondary, indirect way a mask protects you. The way a mask protects you in the primary way is by everybody else wearing a mask. So when they go, the mask captures the cough. Okay? That's the magic of a mask. You don't. IPA will kill it. It's that simple. You're not dunking this in a tub of viruses, okay? So it's the virus isn't going to get in between layer lines and crap like that. On top of that, after a couple of days, the virus will die naturally anyway, because the virus cannot survive for an extended period of time outside of a host. All right? It's what is it? It is between organics. It has trouble living on altogether, so your food is mostly safe. It's very unlikely you're going to get it from food. On top of that, your digestive juices kill the virus. Turning doorknobs, I mean, they do make some of these that are designed to latch onto a door and let you turn them. It's a little tough, though. Your best solution, if you want to do one for turning doorknobs, is going to be to print a handle like this that has a cone on it. So a cone shape, kind of like this, but not angled like this. So a cone shape, bigger than the doorknob. And you make this out of TPU. So that way you can use it to push on the doorknob and turn it. You could do that. Although I think that's overreacting. I think the idea of some of this is just to create good behavior. You don't have to put on a hazmat suit to protect yourself from this. You just have to enable decent protections. Thank you, Paul. Well, I do intend to print a Bane mask and a Hannibal mask. Just because it'd be fun. When people look at you funny and go, yeah, a rubber insert or TPU insert to give it friction so that you can push it on the doorknob and turn. The other thing, basic practices. Clean the door handles on your car. Clean the door handle on your house. Stuff like that. You know, just basic stuff just to limit the spread. A huge spreader of this stuff is your shoes. All right? So when we go out, when we come back, I IPA spray my shoes. Just a little bit on the shoes. Leave the shoes by the door. Okay? Now I'm not traipsing that all throughout the house. All right? If we only go out once a week. All right? when from this point forward, when we go out, when we get back, the very first thing we're going to do is we are going to take our clothes off, take our mask off, toss all of that in the washing machine, get straight in the shower. There you go. Now you're not traipsing all that stuff into your house. Because, you know, I use this to open a door. Now my shirt's contaminated. Okay? it adds up. Now, the reason the 3D printed masks don't work well, and in fact they're potentially dangerous, because remember, the mask is not there to protect you. It's there to protect everybody else from you. The problem with a 3D printed mask is it does not absorb. Okay, let's not even get past the point that the people are putting N95 material inside of masks like this. So you're trying to breathe through that little square right there. All right, if you think it's going to end well, you trying to breathe through that little square, I got a thing coming to you. Okay, that's not how this works. All right, these masks are designed with having a certain amount of surface area. See you later, Paul. They're designed with having a certain amount of surface area so that they can pass a sufficient quantity of air so you can breathe. Okay, you ever see the... That's great. If I were to take this mask and shrink its breathable area down to here, okay, one of two things is going to happen. You're going to suffocate, or you're going to blow out the mask. Okay, blowing out the mask is what happens when you attempt, plague doctor mask. Somebody did one up. They 3D printed it and they painted it and it looked like leather. Oh, I want to make one of those bad now. Plus, you could put a real mask on the inside underneath it. I tell people, be a good alien critter, be like Venom. Mask on. Copy. I love that scene in the movie. So what'll happen is, if this was 3D printed with a little patch, either you're going to breathe out and the mask is going to go, and the air is going to come out the side because you're over-pressurizing the mask, or you're going to suffocate because you're not getting enough air. You know, sitting at home with a fresh mask in your chair going, yeah, this works great. Now walk a half a mile through a store after your mask starts getting a little damp and harder to breathe through. Okay? And then, of course, even if you do, and your mask is just going to blow out. It's going to pop away from your face by that little bit, and the air is just going to come out the side. Okay? The reason that you go through fit testing is because you need that airtight seal for an N95. Okay? So you need sufficient surface area. So even if you were to take this 3D printed mask and dramatically increase the surface area to at least triple the surface area they show in this picture here. So you would need at least triple that surface area. Even if you did that, you have the primary problem with a 3D printed mask. It does not absorb. Your breath is hot and wet. All right? Your lungs are wet. Your breath is wet. It's high humidity. All right? And when you breathe out into a plastic mask, and this is not a 3D printing problem. If you were to take this mask and have it injected molded out of nylon or polycarbonate, you would still have the same problem. It's not absorbing your exhale. So your exhale is going to collect like dew, moisture on the inside of the mask. And that virus-infected liquid is going to leak out of the mask. Now you're infecting the people around you again. Okay? So there's a solution to this. Just take a goddamn piece of cloth and a little bit of sewing thread, and you make a mask. Okay? You just sew a mask. Now, if you're desperate to 3D print, this here is 80% as effective as a surgical mask. And it captures 95 to 100% of your exhale. You see, even at viral scales, I mean, we're talking, what, 2 nanometer scale of a virus, whatever the size of a virus is, even at that scale, this is still 70% effective. Remember, it's not the breathing in, it's the breathing out. Okay? That's what it's capturing. Now, if you desperately want to 3D print something, I made one that's actually safe. All right? So here you go. All right? So this is a 3D printed mask that's actually usable and safe. Yes, I printed these parts. So the trick is to make sure the cloth is big enough to come under your chin, okay, and to cover your nose. So now you can adjust it by pulling the fabric through. So you see how I can pull here and I can tighten up the nose? All right, there you go. A 3D printed mask that actually works because you're not breathing into the plastic, you're breathing into the cloth. I call it a no-sew mask. You're basically replacing the need for sewing with these 3D printed parts. When you take it off, don't touch this because now you just got the virus all over you. Okay? If you print it in ABS, you could probably just chuck the whole damn thing in the washing machine with your clothes. If you're not ABS printing it, you'll have to take it apart and clean the cloth. Okay? So the way this works is it's 3 pieces. You have to punch out the core in the center here. Oh, wait a minute, it goes this way. Here we go. There we go. So there's a compression pin, and that compression pin holds the bite bar in. Whoop. And I am dropping everything today. So on a Gene Simmons tongue. So there's the bite bar. Okay. So you print these 3 pieces twice. You need 2 of each. Okay. Inside of here, you can see there's a hole down there. Okay. So the way you do this, the right way to do this is to have somebody sew. It's on Thingiverse. The right way to do this is to have someone sew you a mask. Okay. But if you're desperate to 3D print it, here's how you do it. You take your cloth, you put it on top of your nose like this. Okay. Then you run the cloth underneath your chin, and wherever your beard would normally stop, right about here, you grab it right there. Okay? Okay, so that's where you're going to cut it. So that's where I grabbed it. And so you take a pair of scissors and you cut that off. Okay? Now you have the correct size piece of cloth. I don't want to cut a second one. I already cut one. Then you take your cloth and you feed it through the body block. If you have to, you might need to take a little pair of pliers and yank it through. Okay? But once you have it through, just start doing this. Just start pulling it through like that. It'll bunch up. That's fine. Nothing wrong with it bunching up. This is too big because I didn't cut this down. Okay? Now, once you have your cloth in there, you insert your bite bar. Okay, that bite bar is going to engage the cloth and the teeth on both sides. All right? You push down on this end. You push in on this end to hold it in. This way it stays exposed there. And then you take your pressure bar and you push it in. There you go. Now this does not pull out so easily. All right, it's more than strong enough. You could actually force it out if you wanted to. You could force it out, but it's more than strong enough for wearing it. I mean, you saw I could wear that. All right, and that's it. That's your unit. I also printed it in ABS. It worked great. All right, I actually increased the thickness of that unit by 0.6 millimeters, so it's got a little tighter bite. I also have a if your cloth is unusually thin or has problems, I made a stronger one of these with a beam up the middle so it's a little stiffer because you need that pressure bar to hold it in place and push the bite bar into the cloth. Then you feed your elastic through the hole there, and that's it. You end up with a 3D printed mask that's actually safe because this will actually absorb your coughs and your sneezes, which is how the virus primarily threads. So let me give you the Thingiverse link to that. And then if you click on my things, I'll just give you to my page. All 3 of them are there. And we want to go here. Paste. Ultimately, find somebody local in your community who will sew you a mask. It'll cost me $50, $12.50 a piece. I have 4 of them. 2 for me, 2 for Michelle. Hers is a nice pink pattern. Mine's a bright blue with the Zia for the New Mexico flag logo. And we use those. And every night when we come back from going out, we toss them in the washing machine. Now, there are some conditions, all right? When you wear one of these, you need more than one, especially if you're going to be out for an extended period of time, because 2 hours or when it becomes damp, okay? Whichever comes first. Once it becomes damp, it's more permeable to particulate matter. And after 2 hours, just assume you're going to have an issue. You change it out and wash it. But if you're really desperate to 3D print one, that's actually safe, all right? None of these is safe. Not because they're a bad design, but because they're either going to be a pressure problem and allow your exhale to escape, or because they're plastic. So they're not going to absorb. People say, well, what if I line the inside of it with cloth? Yes, but now you already have a cloth mask. Just get rid of the 3D printed part. Why have the 3D mask if you've already got a full face cloth mask? You don't need it. Right? So, I mean, I get it. People want to use the 3D printers. I mean, you guys know me. I have 140 3D printers, and I have a YouTube channel here. I love my 3D printers. But there's right tools for the job and wrong tools for the job. And in this case, printing one of these out of plastic is the wrong tool for the job. It's not a sanitizing problem. Just sanitize them with IPA. You're fine. The problem is it's not doing its job of protecting everybody around you from you. And the other reason we need to encourage everybody to wear masks is because even sick people who really need to be wearing masks aren't going to be wearing masks because of the social stigma of doing so. If everybody's wearing masks, there's no social stigma. And also, you know, as the Martian said, we're going to science the shit out of this. Ignore the morons in the WHO and the CDC. They're idiots. They're playing politics. Do you know why the WHO and the CDC is not telling everybody to mask on? Do you know why? I'll give you 2 words. Toilet paper. Having any trouble buying toilet paper recently? Okay? That's why they won't suggest masks. Because they're afraid there's going to be a run on masks and our health professionals won't be able to get masks. And they're not entirely wrong, but they're costing people their lives. Okay? If you look at the numbers from countries that encourage all of their citizens to wear masks, and you look at the numbers from countries that don't, enough said. The numbers speak for themselves. Look at the numbers from Japan, from China, from South Korea, from Taiwan. Look at their numbers. Enough said. They have a fraction of the infection rate and a fraction of the death rate. And they all wear masks. That's the only difference. The full-face snorkel masks aren't for masking. The full-face snorkel masks are for ventilator attachment. That's a pretty cool idea, actually. Apparently the company that made the Decathlon full face mask actually released the blueprints, the CAD files for their mask to make it easier for people to adapt them, which was freaking awesome. That's like giving away your secret sauce, so that's pretty cool. The problem is they're all rubber, so they don't work well. Seriously, if you want a nice mask, either pull out your sewing thread in your sewing machine or find somebody local who has one and have them sew you one up. I mean, mine are in the car. I'm not going to run out and grab them, but I'll show you pictures. Waiting to see how nice these are. She even made mine extra big because I have a big face. Rotate. Right. So here's my mask. So that's what I wear when I go out. Alright? It's all cotton. I just wash it. And then here is my sister's. Come on, autofocus. There you go. So, real easy. And if you really desperately want to 3D print one, there's the link above to print these out. Alright? The way that works is the bite bar and the post. Mr. 12 gauge. Make very good friends with Mr. 12 gauge. Okay? Assuming you're in a country where Mr. 12 gauge is allowed to live. um, so these are vase mode printed, so they print very fast. Okay. This is regular printed, 4 top, 4 bottom, 2 perimeters to keep it light. I think the whole thing uses like 12 or 13 grams of plastic, so you're talking less than 30 grams of plastic to print the whole set, because remember, you need 2. Okay. If you're having trouble finding, like I couldn't find any elastic. Okay. So I just took the elastic off of one of the old used up disposable dust masks, shop masks I have. This is for in your shop. I just took the elastic off that. You can use rubber bands too. There you go. We need to get a grassroots movement of citizens producing masks at an incredible rate, and we need to get everybody wearing masks. All right, get everybody wearing masks. The more people we get wearing masks, the more we can slow this mess down, and the more people we get masks, the more good people who need the masks will be wearing them, because we will remove the social stigma of wearing masks. And if you have any surgical type masks, don't open them. Donate them to your local hospital. They desperately need them. Okay, you got to remember when the N95 masks are worn for the whole shift. Okay, because they are fitted. You ever see their faces of these doctors with the lines on their face? That's because of how tight these masks need to be put on, because they have to actually form an airtight seal to do any good. Most TPU isn't stretchy enough, but it could work if you have a nice stretchy TPU, but it's cheaper just to use rubber bands instead of expensive filament. I went out to Dollar Tree to get rubber bands yesterday, but they closed early. So I couldn't get any rubber bands, and I wasn't paying $5 for a little bag of rubber bands at Walgreens. I just wasn't doing it. Yeah, the dogs and guns are helpful. You know, a couple of extra freezers in the back are very helpful. I mean, a lot of people say, you know, graves and pits, but no. You need freezers, okay? You gotta save all that meat. It's good protein. And plus, if you eat somebody who's immune, maybe you'll be immune. Furry cruise missiles. German Shepherds are definitely furry cruise missiles, man. There's some videos some military videos, you know, where they stick a dog on somebody, and that dog launches himself and just right through a window in a car and crap like that. It's like, damn! Don't piss off that pooch. Um, just remember, 2 hours, or when they become damp, change out the mask. That's why I got 2 each for Michelle and I. So if, for whatever reason, we're out for an extended period of time, we can change masks if we need to. When you get in your car, take the mask off. There's no reason to have it on in your car. You only need the mask on when you're around other people. Freeze-dried Scooby snacks. Belgian Malinois. I need to look that up. Oh, wow. Very sleek dog. It looks a lot like a German Shepherd. It looks exactly like a German Shepherd, but more sleek. Pretty dog. These are the Belgian Malinois he's talking about. That's a very pretty dog. Yeah, we can do that. That actually makes a lot of sense. So I can probably make this a little bigger, then rotate this. There we go. Now you have a better view of what I'm looking at. Ooh, I need to keep that up there so I can see what we're seeing. I need 3 monitors. I need 1 monitor where I can just keep this screen up and just leave the chat in here, just to make the stream a little easier. And then I need another one for this stuff, another primary one for what I show you guys, and then the last one for OBS. Keep all the OBS stuff visible. All right, now, the other thing people are doing is that they want to make stuff for local hospitals. Okay, people are excited. They want to use their printers for good. Why is that so tight? Oh, that's why. I just broke it. Derp. That was dumb. I'm surprised that broke. And I also did it out of ABS. I got 200 rolls of toilet paper. I'm not worried about running out of toilet paper. and no, I haven't bought any toilet paper recently. I bought all this before I moved from Pennsylvania to New Mexico. I had like 350, 400 rolls of toilet paper. When I buy toilet paper, I buy it 100 at a time. So I don't buy, I don't go to the store and buy a 4-pack of toilet paper. I go on Amazon and I buy a case, which is 96 rolls. All right, and I get it for like $35, $40. And these are not 300 sheet, double layer rolls. These are single ply 1,000 sheet rolls. So lots of toilet paper. Just because I hate buying toilet paper, so if I have to buy it, I'm gonna get it as cheap as I possibly can. No, but these little freaking kittens, yeah, they love toilet paper. Did you see the project in Colorado? What project in Colorado? But anyway, if you're going to print stuff like this for your local hospitals and stuff like that, all right, I've modified both the DTM, which is a modification of the Prusa, and the original Prusa to make them much faster and much easier to print. But before you go cranking these things out, make a couple of them and take them to your local facility and make sure they can actually use them. All right. If they say, yes, we can use these, can you make more? Then you go home and make more. Don't just start cranking them out until you know they're actually going to be useful. I have multiple Mr. 12 gauge roommates, and I have 2 murder machine kittens, and I have missiles, and I like eating people. So, good luck. Yes, I did. I'll show you guys that later. I have what I call the ICBTPDS, Intercontinental Ballistic Toilet Paper Delivery System. Hashtag Pooception. It's basically a giant toilet paper roll that holds 20 toilet paper rolls. Just why not? It's actually going to be useful because I could put my toilet paper in this and keep the kittens from tearing it apart. They don't unroll them. They roll over on their back and they take their hind legs and their front legs and they grab the toilet paper roll like this and they just start shredding it. So it's like, you little fuckers. It's like, I'm gonna shoot you. It's like, here, where's that tail? Here, give me your tail. Little bastards. So I have to hide the toilet paper in the cabinets, and I have to have a bungee cord on the cabinets because they will open the cabinet doors once they figure out the toilet paper's in there. The face shield is actually these things here. Before they ran out, I got some. It's just transparency films. Okay. They are surprisingly effective. The guy designed it very well. It uses a 3-hole punch. That's why I like the DTM version, because it uses the American 3-hole punch and not the European 4-hole punch. See, the problem with this is the Prusa shield. Okay. We're going to actually go into Tinkercad today, and I'm going to show you guys how I did this. But I took the Prusa shield, and I modified it to be Vase mode printable. So instead of taking 3 hours to print, this takes 55 minutes to print and uses less than 30 grams of plastic. So fast and efficient. You have 4 holes. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm guessing they have standard punches for this over in Europe, but here we don't. Here we use a 3-hole punch. Okay, so this was $2.87 at Walmart, or $3.87. It was less than $5. It was very cheap. I was actually going to buy a heavy duty one from Amazon, but when I realized how good this cheap one was, I realized I don't need to. So it's very simple. You take your 3-hole punch, and that's it. There's your holes. Now you take your mask. This is one of the failed ones. I was experimenting with how high a layer height I can get away with on the visor portion here. I need to move this out of the way because I keep trying to move around my own window on the screen, which is really annoying. Let me turn off that. So there he is. Hi, kitty. So this is one of the failed ones. Do I have another one? Yeah, no. But anyway, oh, there's one. That one's the extended one. That one won't work. And that one's the extended one as well. That won't work. So the way that works is you have your mask. This is printed in 61 minutes on a Ender 3 style printer. Yes, somebody had posted about a specific species of dog, so I showed people pictures of that dog. Well, that's what this is for. This one here has the shield. That's the top part. The idea of that is to keep particulate matter from going down inside the mask. Okay, so that's the purpose of this version here. This is actually approved on the NIH website, not this particular version, but what I remixed it from. Germavoid. Let's see what that is. A finger condom. Oh, that's great. Oh, you guys need to see this. It's literally a finger cot. They use it. It's like a thimble. They use it in sewing and whatnot. But yeah, it's literally a finger condom. Oh my god. Oh, that's hilarious. Here we go. Oh Jesus, people are crazy. Don't use a laser. Just use a 3-hole punch. Yeah, that probably would have succeeded today. And you would never get it in time. You would have bought it. You would have funded it. And 6 months from now, you'd get it and go, what the hell is this for? Because coronavirus will be gone. So, here's the one we just 3-hole punched. Okay, so you put it on the end here. You put it on the center. And then you stretch it a little bit to get to the third point here. There you go. And there you go. There is your ready to go mask. You just need either buttonhole elastic or some rubber bands to attach that to the back of your head. And there you go. You now have a protective shield. People in hospitals need this to stop it from getting sprayed by people and stuff like that when they cough. And so what I did was I modified this file to be Vase mode printable. So once again, this prints in 60 minutes and uses 30 grams of plastic. So it prints in 1/3 the time of the original. There are people doing that, putting rings of pool noodles around them. It's hilarious. So I'm going to show you guys in Tinkercad how I did this, because I didn't model this. I just modified the model. And the Prusa one is easier to demonstrate. So you can see, it's now all hollow. and I have my Vase mode reinforcements at key locations to strengthen it so that it's not too floppy. It's actually pretty rigid. It's actually pretty solid. And also the slight bit of flexibility gain makes it more comfortable to wear because it form fits to your head. Okay, so this is the Prusa RC2, and this is the Prusa RC3 modified with a visor and 3-hole punch instead of 4-hole punch. Yes, if you if you have a volcano, yes. Do I need a banner? What do you mean by a banner? If you print this with a 1.2 millimeter nozzle, I have gotten this down to 37 minutes. In order to go faster, I would need a volcano. I'm limited to about 30-35 millimeters per second before I get filament shearing because I simply can't produce enough heat. But if I were to put a volcano on there, yeah, that could be 30-minute print. And if you only need this part, use this model and only print 12 millimeters, and it's a 30 millimeter print even on your I have a basic picture now that I use. It's the today's 3D print with the kitty cat. It's actually someone helped me make, which is pretty cool. But if you have an idea and you want to do something, go for it. If it's nice, I'll use it, and I appreciate it. And then, of course, this I actually made in Fusion 360. It's basically just a bunch of lines with some filleting and some beveling to make that. So if we have time, I'll show you guys how I did that too. You know, the whole point. Actually, my first version had a finger hole. I wanted the user to be able to have enough torque to be able to turn a handle. So my first version was much bigger with a finger hole here. And the problem is, as you can see, it does not fit right because the finger hole needs to be out here so that you can comfortably grip it like that. And so then I realized I'd just get rid of the finger hole and make it a notch. That's how I came up with that. So now your finger sits in this notch so your hand won't slip when you're trying to manipulate something. I don't use Instagram too much. You're welcome to connect with me on Instagram, but it might take me a while to notice you. You're better off using Twitter, which I use multiple times a day. Lockdown Netherlands. Yeah, well, you can, if you click on my Thingiverse. Do I still have that saved? No, I don't. Germavoid saved, but I have it here. Now remember, if you decide to print some of these to donate to your local medical facilities, do not print a bunch of these things, okay? Print out a couple of them, take them to your facility so that they can verify they can actually use them. Some places can't use them. The rules won't permit it, okay? So verify they can actually use them first, and when they say, yes, we can use these, then print some out. You can use rubber bands for this, or you can use button elastic. These are disposable. All this is a transparency screen plastic. Okay. Any 8.5 by 11 piece of clear plastic will work. Then you just go to Walmart and you buy yourself a hole punch. Okay, that's it. You feed this into the hole punch and you punch the 3 holes in it. That's all you gotta do. It's that easy. It's not complicated. Yeah, we're doing all right. Well, even to your house, they'll only deliver essentials? Wow. You gotta find a local shop and raid them. Yeah, it's just transparency sheet. That's all it is. It's just a transparency sheet of plastic. By the way, if they don't need them, don't make them. If you're in the US and you want to help, print out masks. I don't think you can use the version I'm using because they haven't approved it for his particular application. But on the standard version they've approved, he got Pooch Repcord. People are sending him mass quantities of masks to donate to his local hospitals. We're doing okay. I think we're gonna be okay. I think we'll be lucky. The Weedo has been doing fantastically. Oh, by the way, this looks great in Filamentum Gold. Yeah, that looks amazing. It's also a nice. It also looks like a pew pew gun. Pew 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 pew. I also made it out of ABS on the Weedo. I also printed the Vase on the Weedo, and it's airtight, which means it's also watertight. Okay. Then I also made some goodies. You guys saw the little lizard I printed, but I also made the butterfly, which works perfectly out of ABS. And I also made Flexi Rex out of ABS, and it works perfectly. And I also printed one of my little mask pieces all out of ABS, and it worked great. I've heard nothing more from them. They're still selling, so I'm hoping that means they survived. Yeah, because from what I understand, that hurt them really badly. And this thing with Amazon doing prioritized shipping right now because of the pandemic probably doesn't help. This is the Weedo. That's that Weedo printer that we did last week. It is working very well. I've made some modifications to it. So the first thing I did was I got rid of all this. So I got rid of the plates, I got rid of the springs, I got rid of the magnets, and I also got rid of the metal and glass bed, and I replaced it with a piece of Wham Bam. So I stuck a Wham Bam magnet on the sheet. I used the yellow compression springs, and then I stuck a piece of Wham Bam on the spring steel, and it is working so much better now. A good, fun object to print. I love printing flexies. So these are not good for younger kids, but they're good for older kids because you don't want them because they will break. But yeah, I got the Flexi Butterfly and the Flexi Rex. I have a really big Flexi Rex too, about that big, but that's fun. But yeah, I love the little Flexis. I do want to print a Plague Doctor mask. Those things are just freaking cool. And plus, they're big enough that you could put a cloth mask underneath. So you can have a fun mask and also still actually protect the people around you. Yep. That's the point of ABS. Also ASA. I actually found a couple rolls of ASA in the container, so I got to go grab them later today. Yeah, for real. We'd be going to Murph this weekend. Yeah. Actually, yeah, I would be on my way today. There would be no live stream. I would be on the road right now if it was Murph, because it would take me 22 hours to drive there. And I would stop for a hotel midway in Arkansas, probably. No, not Arkansas. Not Oklahoma. North of that, Kentucky, maybe. So I would be leaving this morning, and I would be halfway to my first hotel stop tonight, and then I would be arriving at Murph Thursday night so that I can get an early start Friday morning. But of course, that's not happening now. Hopefully they can reschedule it, but I have a feeling they won't be able to. I have a feeling by the time things free up well enough to reschedule a Murph, it'll be time for Earth, and they'll probably just skip it to 2021. Which would suck, but, you know, might be for the best. I don't know. They don't know. There's no way to know when it's going to be. It depends on how long this viral outbreak lasts and whatnot. So there's people saying, well, they're not communicating. They can't communicate. What are they going to tell you? We don't know. That's all they can tell you. It's okay. Yes. Oh, the RC3 with the 4 holes? No, I'll have to make that. But that shouldn't be that hard to do. I know. All the people who were preparing, you know, they were called crazy. They were called loons. Well, they're not so crazy now, are they? Uh. Hey, something I'm looking for. I got this cool little. It's called a chameleon touch lock. It's a nice little tape measure, and you just squeeze it to stop it from going. All you're doing is holding the wheel. It's just a wheel here. But it's standard units only. And I have not found one of these in metric. If anybody sees one of these kind of nice little elegant, simple, nice round, high quality, heavy duty tape measures in metric, let me know. I was actually thinking about trying to get a bunny suit because I have a full face mask. The one I made the fixes for, I use it for when I cut things and stuff like that because I only have one eye, so I actually need full face protection to make sure that debris doesn't get into my eyes. It'll be online later today. It should be as simple as taking this and just grabbing these 4 pegs and transferring it over. So that should be actually, you know something? Let's do it right now. Let's do it right now. Tinkercad. Actually, no, we can't do that. This should be pretty easy to do. Import. Choose file. So, where is my... It's going to be under D. We need the Prusa. Prusa. Number 6. Import. Fusion 360 is superior, but there are some things that really are easier in Simplify 3D. I mean, Tinkercad. And when it comes to making basic edits to existing STL files, Tinkercad's easier. Oh, I think I just canceled the import. Oops. Really? It's 180 degrees out of phase, huh? That almost works. So what I'm doing now is I need to erase the entire mask except for the pegs. This way I can keep the pegs in their correct orientation. Because if I change the orientation of the pegs, then your sheets won't fit. We need to go to a finer resolution here. That looks pretty close. There we go. Control D. Mirror it. Drag that over here. Oh, and that one's actually pretty good. I just need to get rid of this chunk right here. Okay. So let's grab all this, remove this, join that. And then add a little bit right here to get rid of this. Add a little bit right here to get rid of this. There we go. No, I don't want to do that. Thankfully, undo works. Join. There you go. There is our pegs. I have a little bit of extra crap, but that's easy to get rid of. Then we unhide, and we line this up to match the mask. Why? Oh, yeah. There we go. Now we hide that, and we got to get rid of the US pegs. First, let's change colors here to be easier to see. Oh, I hate when it does that. Oh, I gotta bring the chat up so I can see what you guys are saying. I have, I don't know how good. Oh, yeah, sure. Right there. There we go. I don't know how good they are for lighter weight people, but for big, heavy people like me, Danner shoes are fantastic. Also, Chippewa boots are fantastic. There we go. Let's hide that. Let's put a work plane there. Actually, that's the wrong work plane. Right about there. There we go. That's about right. That's about right. I keep forgetting to bring the chat up so I can see it. All right. So now the holes are removed, and there is the 4 peg holes. And join. Bingo, bango, done. There you go. Now you have the RC3 headpiece with the 4 European holes. We shall now Euro punch pattern. Euro 4-hole. Export STL. Save. It will be. First, I got to make sure it's clean. So I run it through NetFab. What did I call that? Euro punch pattern, I think. Euro punch pattern, 4-hole. JC Productions. JC, don't worry about asking questions multiple times. I'm doing multiple things at once, so sometimes I simply miss the chat. So don't worry about having to repeat yourself. I'm asking and risking same question because nobody's answering. I have a company that wanting to buy 5 or 10 under 5 plus. You got to clarify. I don't know what you're asking. I'm not an expert on support, but I like to use as much support as necessary to be a stable base. So I use a solid bottom with a brim for the support. And then the important thing with support is your interface layers. I know that's the important part, but I don't know exactly how to do it. Someone asked for this version of the mask. Can you see that? I believe you can. Someone asked for this version of the mask with the 4 European hole punch pattern. In Europe, their hole punches are 4 holes, while here in the US, we use a 3-hole pattern. So he wanted this with the 4-hole pattern. Download. Yes. Open Simplify 3D. Hello, Timothy. New. Oh, that's good. That's fine. We do need to make this 1.6. 0.24 should be okay. Single outline. Make sure your thin wall behavior is allow single wall, allow single fill, and 100% overlap, or you will run into problems. I do not advise a single hole punch. Single hole, I had nothing but trouble getting these to properly fit these bands using a single hole punch because they are designed for a tight fit. So if your holes are not quite right, you're going to have problems. Just these things are less than $4, like $2.87 at Walmart. Buy 10 of them. It's just going to be easier. Let's see here. Downloads. And Euro punch hole fixed. Actually, wait a minute. I have a pre-sliced file for this. Yes. No. Okay. Get rid of that. Put in the new one. Let's see if it slices. Uh-oh. I see. See, I have these extra retractions that shouldn't be here. So here I'm going to slow down the print in order to change the colors it uses so that I can more appropriately see what I'm doing. Okay, why would that break phase mode? Oh, it's not connected. See? See how I have a little gap here? Okay, so I'm not actually connected. Is it all of them? Not connected there, or there. That one is partially connected. Okay. That would defeat any kind of rapid printing capabilities. And a brim doesn't really help with this because you have a shield. See? So how would you put a brim on here and then still be able to attach the shield? So we have to go back to Tinkercad and fix that. So we are going to move that negative 0.5 millimeters. And we might as well make sure it's centered. It is centered. Okay, so now we will join them again. It's sometimes possible to see if they're actually connected, but this doesn't always let you get in close enough. We'll find out in a moment. Export STL. Save. Come back to here. Let's try the next version. There we go. Now we're connected. Now, is that printing first layer? Yes, it is. Okay. Now vase mode is not breaking. There we go. We were off by 0.5 millimeter. I see. Now, see what I'm looking for is I'm looking for errant retractions, and I'm looking for errant travel moves. I don't see any. I see my start, I see my end, I see my start and beginning retract, and we're good. I don't know. I think we should. Although, personally, it's warlike. I'd say make it part of Veterans Day. Re-import won't work because it's a different file. But there you go. Your new version is good. I'm going to run it through, even though it looks perfect here, I'm going to run it through NetFab anyway, just in case. Just in case there's any kind of weirdness going on in there. Euro 1. Download. Yeah, it would be nice, but it's not a big deal. The new version. Prepare. That looks perfect. I don't see anything errant. I don't see anything weird. It all looks good. Let me modify this back to the higher speeds. There you go, 1 hour, 2 minutes. And if your printer is more capable, you might be able to go faster. It's very important to make sure this first layer is down solid, especially these areas and these areas. Make sure they actually print correctly. Once they do, you can crank up the speed. So I'm also going to save this. This G-code file has no heat bed enabled. So you'll have to manually turn on your heat bed when you use this G-code file. But it will automatically turn off your heat bed when it's done. I left that G-code command in there. Okay. Cut. Get rid of the extra ones I don't need. And DTI paste. And save that. So we need to upload those to Thingiverse. And done. There we go. There you go. Thingiverse now has the 4-hole version with the G-code as well for printing it. So, the way I modify these files to make them vase mode printable... What the hell am I doing here? Come on. There we go. The way I do that, you see all these little cuts I have here? See, I have a cut right there, and a cut right there, and a cut right there. See all these little lines I have in here? That's how I make it vase mode printable. So on this model here, I had to flatten out this area a little bit because I had some issues. Okay? And flatten out this area a little bit. So I was getting straggler lines that shouldn't be there. Now, the first thing you need to realize is that you have an inside and an outside. Okay? So if you draw outside, show it from this angle. Nope. Actually, this would be easier in the slicer. Speed 30. This is to make the colors easier for us to see. Red and orange are too hard to see. So I'm not going to print the shield to make that a little easier. Here we go. By the way, this will print in like 30 minutes. Depends on the printer, depends on the filament, depends on the temperature. Depends on the layer height. At 0.24 millimeter layer height for the 0.4 millimeter nozzle version, 50 millimeters per second. Remember, we're using an extrusion multiplier of 1.6. So you're extruding the equivalent of a 0.65 millimeter nozzle, so you don't want to go too fast. So you can see here, all the structure I have. You can see how these lines get a little squiggly. That's why I had to cut off the tops to make them flatter, so they'd print okay, and this does print okay. So the first thing you have to realize is that you have an inside and an outside. So here is a line drawing of our pattern. So you have this outside surface here. This is all outside. This is all outside. This is all outside. This is all outside. All this pattern you see me drawing, that's all outside. That's fine. That'll print in vase mode fine. But we have an inside here. We have this area in here. Okay? That can't print vase mode because that's two separate planes. We have to connect those planes. The way I do that is by cutting straight through it. See? I cut all the way through. Now you connect the inside and the outside as a continuous path, like a Mobius strip. But because this gap is only 0.1 millimeters thick, the plastic fuses together. Okay? Now, for the thicker one, that joint was actually brittle. So I added this. Why? Oh, I'm looking at the copy of the cursor. So I added this little structure here to make this joint stronger, and that works great. The regular version without that, as you can see, it broke right there. Okay? That might be because I was going too fast. But either which way, adding that little bit there completely fixes the problem. Okay? So that joint is too small to be an actual gap, so, and especially because I'm over extruding, the plastic fuses together. Not a problem. Ender 5 pluses. No, you most likely will not be able to deliver in the next couple of days. You might be able to find a couple. But Amazon has shifted all of their distribution towards essentials. So they will ship anything they have in stock, but they will not be able to, they're not accepting new things into the Amazon warehouse. Now, you could see if Printed Solid has any machines. You could see if Tiny Machines has any machines. And you could see if Matter Hackers has any machines. I'm pretty sure all three of those sell that printer. So you might be able to get your 10 quantity from multiple shippers. Do keep in mind, shipping is going to be pretty high on something like that. It's a very large machine. You don't need Ender 5 pluses to make masks. Ender 3s or Ender 5s work fine for printing masks, and they're a hell of a lot cheaper. For about, what, 1,500 Canadian, you could buy 10 Ender 3s. So you might want to consider that instead. It takes 3 hours without Vase mode. So 1 hour with Vase mode, 3 hours without. So once I have this, that connects the inside and the outside. So when it comes around here, it jumps inside and prints this inside face, and then it jumps back outside and continues the outside face. This makes it, oh yeah, 3D Printing Canada. See if they have any. This makes the whole thing an outside surface. So now I've solved making the entire object Vase mode printable. But here's the problem. If you don't have reinforcements, it ends up being too floppy. This one's actually pretty stiff, but without all of my reinforcements, this would be very, very floppy. It'd be like paper because it's Vase mode. So I add supports. So you can see here, I hate the middle mouse button is how you move in Tinkercad. The problem is the middle mouse button resets your view in Simplify 3D. So I'm always hitting the middle mouse button and resetting my view in Simplify 3D. I did it again. I got to remember right mouse button to shift to drag the plane around. So you can see here, this is intentional. Okay. This is a cut that goes into the model. So it's adding a rib. And that's going to add this rib right here. Okay. See that rib right there? That's what it's adding. It's adding that rib right there. Well, different model, but you get the idea. That rib goes in, but doesn't quite touch the outside. This gap needs to be 2 times your nozzle width so that the slicer can form a correct path. Otherwise, the slicer will actually break the model and create an opening there, which will break Vase mode. Yep, I got all the versions in Vase mode. At least the versions that are capable of it. Now this I added as well. Now because this does not actually have to do the only time you need 2 times the nozzle width is when you have to perform a 180 maneuver. Because it has to have a non-zero distance to move the model, to move the nozzle. Okay? These 2 filament paths have to be able to run alongside each other. So there needs to be enough distance for it to be able to go like this and come back. Okay? Even it's just non-zero. Okay? So this is 0.1 millimeters wide, but this width needs to be able to coexist next to this width. This is all PLA. These are actually surprisingly durable and surprisingly strong. I mean, I can really bend these up and mess with these, and yet they hold up great. Especially this one with the visor, even stronger. Because once you put it on your face, now it's all rigid. Now it doesn't move anywhere. Because you got the elastic holding this to your face. So it doesn't go anywhere once you put it on. Being thin is the whole point. That's why I have these reinforcements we're going over now. These here add stiffness. If I didn't have these in here, this would be way too floppy. So that there connects this surface with this surface without breaking Vase mode, and also connects to this surface here. These are close enough together the plastic melts together. And that is I got to bring up the camera view so I can actually see what I'm showing you guys. that is this joint right here. That's that joint right there. And then I do the same thing down here. I create that joint down there as well. And that you can see down here. Same idea. It comes in and goes back. So vase mode is maintained. And these are actually pretty thick. They're about a 0.7 millimeter extrusion. That's pretty awesome, JC. I would give 3D Printing Canada a call first and see if they have sufficient stock to meet your needs. Because that's going to be, you'll be supporting a local company and you'll have local shipping, in-country shipping. Infill is 0. This is a vase mode print. There's no infill. It is all hollow. Now, if you need heavy duty, I have a thick version for a 1mm nozzle. Yeah, these are heavy duty. That ain't going nowhere. And so I add random little points here. So here you can see I added points here and here to stiffen up the band. Oh my god, I hate that so much. I added stiffening points here and here. Structural stiffening points here and here. Then I added a structural stiffening point here. This here doesn't need a structural stiffening point because it has shape. That shape gives it stiffness. I did already. That's what we just did right here. This is the UK 4-hole punch version, or the Euro 4-hole punch version. Yes, it's in the Thingiverse I'm listing. That didn't work. Right here. That now includes both the 3-hole and the 4-hole versions. So as this part here builds up, it has structure because of its shape. So this part here doesn't need stiffening. But these ribs add stiffening throughout the model here. What is that? Oh, that's the beginning of the visor. Okay. So those ribs give you the stiffness you need. You could add more ribs if you wanted more stiffness, but I don't think it's necessary. Awesome, David. Boy. I don't know how a visually impaired person is going to level a printer. Because the probe only trams. It doesn't actually set the offset. Huh. How would a blind person do that? If I close my eyes, how would I level a printer? Probably one of the first things I would do is use a larger nozzle. I don't know if the Euro and UK are different. You'll have to print it and let me know. If you can find me this exact mask with a the Prusa mask with the UK punch pattern, if it's different from Euro, I can make the same modification. But I would need an actual finished example to do that. PETG is not a problem with this because it's vase mode. As long as your first layer sticks down, you're good. There's no retractions. There's no spurious movements. Oh, very important. Make sure your start point is in the visor. You do not want your start point back here. That will cause some funky stuff to happen with the thing. No, but see, that's not so easy because how will they know the paper's there? They can't see it. I mean, that would be tricky to do, and you want to be careful not to touch the nozzle. It's going to be hot. Um, I personally would suggest using a larger nozzle. I would go to a 0.8 millimeter nozzle. If you go to a 0.8 millimeter nozzle, everything gets bigger, including your tolerances. So your offset from the bed does not have to be as exact. And it'll also make it a lot easier for a blind person to feel the filament path and to know it is sticking properly. You get a lot more wiggle room if you use a larger nozzle. So if your Z offset is off by even 0.1, 0.2 millimeters, it's okay. It'll still work. That's one of the reasons I never have to re-level the bed on the Chiron with a 1.2 millimeter nozzle, because I'm printing at a 0.4 millimeter layer height. So even if I'm off by 50%, it's still going to stick and print fine. Yeah, you kind of have to level hot. If you level cold, it's going to be different. I would go to bigger nozzle. I would start right with a 0.8 millimeter nozzle. I mean, you're going to lose the ability to print fine details on small things. Even with a raft, you still need to get that offset reasonably correct. Otherwise, it's going to ram that nozzle right into the bed. Huh. Man, that's tough. Yeah, going with a larger nozzle would help. I'm just trying to think of ways to how that would work. Because he said he wants it because of the auto leveling, and I don't think JC realizes that it's not automatic. ABL is not automatic; it's just automated. Yeah, but that kind of defeats the point of the visually impaired being able to do this. The idea is to come up with ways for them to do it start to finish. Well, even building the printer would be tough. But yeah, start with 3D Printing Canada, and if you cannot find a Canadian source that has the printers, Printed Solid, Tiny Machines, and Matter Hackers. Yeah, I imagine it's going to be a relatively tough printer to find. You might be able to order direct from Creality. They might even give you a decent deal for ordering 10 of them. No, you don't understand. Um, the, he has a $15,000 budget, but he's not buying $15,000 printers. He's buying Ender 5s. You know, would you like to see the crop circles in my bed? You know, of my Ender 5? Yeah, it's not as automatic as you think. Oh, by the way, if you print this without the visor, it's like a 30-minute print. It's very fast. But that's how I make the face shields in Vase mode. Oh, okay. If you can see well enough to build the printers, then you can see well enough to level them. That's not so bad. If you can't find somebody local who has them, try Printed Solid, Matter Hackers, and Tiny Machines. And if they don't have them, contact Creality directly. They might even give you a deal on buying 10 of them for that kind of a purpose. And then they can just ship them directly to you. That'd be a hell of a shipment, man. Those are big boxes. The Euro and the UK are the same? That's good. Then it's already available on Thingiverse. I just posted it, so you have pre-sliced G-code. Remember, my pre-sliced G-code does not turn on the heat bed because it's for my Mega Zero, which doesn't have a heat bed. Well, he wants it for more things than just doing the shields, I'm guessing. So the Ender 5 Plus has the ABL and the larger build volume. Also, the Ender 5 series is also ideal for impaired people because it's a cage surrounding the printer. So you're less likely to stick an appendage where it doesn't belong accidentally, like bumping into it and stuff like that. So it's probably not a bad idea. Do remember, JC, these printers are massive. Basically, a 8-foot table will hold 2. They are very, very large printers. I have done it. I have taken the right-hand bracket off of my Ender 3 and made it cantilevered. It worked fine. But you are patching a problem with construction. The Ender 3s, those 2 vertical rails need to be aligned with each other. And it's very easy to assemble the Ender 3 such that the rails are crooked. And you'll find that if you remove that, it fixes it. But you could also just fix the crooked rail and also adjust the tightness. Because the one problem with cantilevering it is that the whole arm can now move this way. It can vibrate, so it's not as stable. It should work fine, but it's not as stable, so just be aware of that. It's a little bigger than 24 inches cubed because the head sticks out a little bit, the spool holder sticks out a little bit, the control panel sticks out a little bit, the wiring. So you really need like 30 inches of space for that printer, especially if you want to work around it. Ah, UPS is dropping something off. I wonder what my UPS critter is bringing me. He's bringing me goodies. Goodies, 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 goodies. Do not turn the heat off when you're printing on glass. It will pop your print off and you'll have a failed print. If you're using glass, you have to keep the heat on. Oh, this is my toolkit. I would prefer to leave the uprights in place, but it will work without it. The forums can be a little weird sometimes. There's a lot of elitism, and I really hate that bullshit. It's like, don't be an asshole. You know what I mean? Assholes get eaten. For whatever reason, Weedo chose to use 5.5 millimeter nuts. It's like, what? 5.5 millimeter? Why would you do that? But that's what they used. So I got myself a toolkit that has all those itty bitty sizes. So this has got 4, 4.5, 5, and 5.5. All the way up to 13. So this has got all the itty bitty stupidly tiny sockets. So like $30. Yeah, you eat mean people. Remember, mean people and politicians taste good. So now I have my little micro socket set. I gotta go to the bathroom. I'll be right back.
Yeah, tornadoes tend to mess with power. Well, I'm cheap. Not so much cheap, I just don't have a lot of money. I live on about $800 to $1,000 a month for the both of us. And I probably have more like 500 cans of food, but I buy in bulk when I get it for a cheap price. When you get canned corn for $6 for $1 and canned green beans for $4 for $1, you buy every damn one they have. Plus, use a UPS. Problem solved. Yes, it is. This is the fused one. That one fused a little bit, but I was able to beat it and get it to unfuse. Alright, headphone users might want to be careful because this might be a pretty shocking sound. Yep. There it is. Yeah, it's very, very satisfying to extend this thing. So, I actually left the end off, so I have to print that and glue it on. Okay, that allows me to remove the entire sword insert, so I could beat it until it freed up. But yeah, this was I think it was 0.6 millimeter layer height, 1.2 millimeter nozzle. So yeah, I could beat you with this and probably kill you. And that's in printed solid Jesse PLA. I love that. This orange is beautiful. Oh, I will. As soon as I print the cap and glue it on there, yeah. Yeah, maybe the Green Giant's letters. Otherwise, they'll just destroy your letters. Of course, I wanted more of the Starburst stuff, and Walmart was all out. I wanted to try the other flavors, so I bought them at twice the normal price on eBay. $20 for 10 boxes. They normally go for $1 a box. And of course, the next day, I found them all at Walgreens. It's like, come on! Both the Euro STL and G code are on Thingiverse. It's called Euro Punch model, I think. Hang on. It is. It's called Euro Punch Pattern 4-hole STL. And if you don't need the visor, just stop printing at 12 millimeters. Only print the first process instead of both processes. Yeah, it depends. Some things are a little on the expensive side. So these juice mixes come as single to go packets. So they're designed for 17 ounces of fluid, standard 16.9 ounce water bottle. You just dump it in there, shake it up, and you're good. Walmart has them actually a little bit cheaper because that's 6 of them. So that is 6 times 17. That's 102 ounces. A gallon's 128 ounces. So you actually need like 7 of them to make a gallon. Walmart has the pink strawberry flavor in 1 gallon sticks. So the pouch makes a gallon. So it'll make 8 gallons, and it costs $8, so it's only $1 a gallon. But they're out. So I bought a bunch of the smaller ones. Hopefully they'll get them in stock because I really like the strawberry flavor. It's very, very good. But in this particular instance, online is far more expensive than offline. So Walmart, that's $1 a gallon. But if I were to buy these online, so if I go to Amazon, well, here's a perfect example. Skittles, 40 juice sticks. In the store, it's $3.99. On Amazon, it's $20. Let's see. That would be 500 milliliters. So 500 milliliters is 16.9 ounces. Mark, I've already answered you twice now. The STL file is there. Right here. Euro punch pattern 4-hole STL. Here's the G code. There's the STL file. That's on Thingiverse. So just go to Thing Files, and the last one is Euro punch pattern 4-hole. So for these particular little juice mixes, buying them in the store is significantly cheaper. I don't know why they cost so much online. Probably because they're not being officially sold online, so it's third-party people buying them and then reselling them, and so they have a markup, of course. Both Mark and Michael, the files are there on Thingiverse. It's called Euro Punch Pattern 4-hole STL. That is this visor with the 4 holes. I'm doing pretty good. Feeling better. I still need to take a little Tylenol at night, but I don't have to take any during the day. So, still have a tiny bit of a fever. Not much. It's almost gone, so I think I'm at the end of it. Whatever it is. It's also pretty easy to refill SodaStream containers yourself. If you can get pelletized dry ice. If you can get pelletized dry ice, if you look on the SodaStream bottle itself, it tells you how much CO2 is in there. So what you do is you put the SodaStream bottle on a scale, you tar it out to 0, and then you add pelletized dry ice until you get the exact weight it's supposed to hold. Screw it on there. That's it. You're done. Once the equalizes temperature and turns all into a gas, you will have a refilled SodaStream bottle. But that's only if you can get pelletized dry ice. Not everybody can get pelletized dry ice. A lot of places it's just blocks. Yes, I will. This was my first version of the mask thing. I tried to do it in 2 pieces. So the idea was this piece would have teeth, and that would be where you'd put your string. Your cloth would go through here, and then this would be a friction fit. It would just push in and then snap in place. It wasn't tight enough, and I had to put cuts in the side in order to make it flex enough to pop it out. Well, Ender's right here. Can you see him? You can just barely see him right there. There's my Ender baby. Yeah, he's a good boy. Yeah. He is such a good cat. We got so lucky with these cats. And Noel's probably in with Michelle. Oh, okay. That's awesome, JC. I hope it succeeds. It's just too bad you tried it now when nobody has any stock. But yeah, if you can get them in the U.S. or Canada, great. Otherwise, contact Creality directly if you need to. They might be able to help. Hey, we got a PayPal. We got a double PayPal. Lawrence, $10. And 3D CNC, $10. You guys rock. Thank you. Yeah, when I designed this, I didn't have a scale in mind. And when I printed it, I realized, oh my God, that's big. A little too big. So I shrank it down to 150 millimeters. And that is perfect. That works out nice. I love my kitties. He's such a good cat. We got really lucky with these cats, I think. They're my babies. I love my little critters. So, any questions? Anything you guys want to talk about? I don't know if is he not listening to the audio or the chin piece. Just print the chin piece they have. There's nothing for me to modify with the chin piece. I think he's talking about the I think he's talking about the piece that goes down here to stiffen this up. There's a little piece that goes on here. I didn't modify that, so just use the original. This will actually hold groceries. This is actually at an angle, so if you hang something on here, it'll stay put. Yeah, you're going to see that happen a lot as the warehouses run out. But there are plenty of local places you can get filament. Ziltech, Printed Solid, Matter Hackers, Filament One, Atomic Filament. There are plenty of U.S. vendors who have stocks of filament where you can order filament. No problem, Mark. Just add it to your print bed. Well, you can't. At least not unless you have a large print bed. Because remember, mine's a vase mode print, which means it's going to print the whole thing. So you have to have enough space on your print bed to be able to print the chin piece and then go over and print the head piece. The Euro version is going to take the same amount of time as the American version. The only difference is one peg, so it's going to be about 1 hour, give or take 5 minutes. No printer today, but next week we have the FL Sun Q5, a beginner's Delta printer we're going to mess with next week. Yeah, PETG probably went pretty quickly. PETG is a less common material for printers to use, so they don't keep as heavy a stock. I don't think there's any micro centers around here. I wonder. Nope, no micro center near me. How about out here? Looks like the nearest micro center is either Fort Worth, Texas, or Denver, Colorado. So no micro centers for me. Or San Diego. $80 printer. Do you mean the little orange one? It wasn't quite 80. It was like 120 or something like that. The little Easy 3 X1. Yeah, I still got it. It's sitting on the kitchen table over there. Yep, the new Q5. So we'll be playing with that next week. I'm hoping to have my new table set up next week. I hope. I gotta get off my ass and clean this mess up. There was one near me when I was in Pennsylvania, but it was all the way up in Philadelphia. It was not local. Yeah, it was all the way up in West Philly near Bryn Mawr. So I've never actually been to one. The 101 Hero, that pile of garbage is about $100. The Ender 5 and the CR10 V2 aren't really comparable. The Ender 5 is more like an Ender 3 with an expanded build volume, while the CR10 V2 is a 334. So the Ender 5 has a 220 by 220 by 300 build volume, while the CR10 V2 has a 300 by 300 by 400 build volume. A better comparison would be the Ender 5 Plus compared to the CR10 V2, in which case I'd probably go with the Ender 5 Plus. I don't know. I honestly don't know. If you can think of the name. So far, the Frozen Sonic Mini would be a very good option with the monochrome screen. 2,000 hour lifespan, incredibly fast print times. No, I have not done anything with the Connex boxes except fill them with all my stuff. um, I got the door, and now that we're getting warmer weather, I hope to install the door soon. The Jazzla is still sitting here too. I have that. It's in this pile somewhere. So I gotta work on that too. Well, remember, China was completely shut down for several months. The way China dealt with the virus was to lock down the entire country. Basically, they were on their New Year holiday, that February 11th New Year holiday, and they basically told everybody, stay on holiday. You're not going back to work. Everybody's closed. when you live in a totalitarian regime like China, you can do that. They basically shut down the entire country. I have very much looked at the extension kits, and I'm very tempted. For $219, I'm very tempted. Turn an Ender 3 into a 445. That's $400 for a 445 printer. That's pretty cheap. No, never found out. Yeah, that was a one-off deal. I don't even think you can get that anymore. You might as well go with the 445, so you get the 500 millimeter build volume. The price difference is negligible. Boy, that blows my mind that I drove that distance, man. That's crazy. You don't realize really how far it is until you look at a map and you go, God damn, that was far. Yeah, I would definitely go with the 445 for 219 bucks plus 230 bucks for an Ender 3. That's hard to beat. But remember, the entire nation of China was essentially shut down. Like all their factories closed, everything closed. They were shut down to control the spread of that virus. And so of course they're now going to have a 2 or 3 month lag in production. You didn't notice it because they had stock everywhere, but now that stock is starting to run out, and there's shortages and all this stuff. And then you combine that now the United States is basically shut down. And so you combine the timing of their shutdown, restart, and they're just starting to restart now, and then our shutdown. Yeah, stock is going to be iffy for the next few months. Water heater is not fixed. It's kind of fixed. Now that I know what's going on, I turn the water heater on for 90 minutes. We get our shower, we do our wash, and I turn the water heater off. This way it doesn't, oh, the 445 kit sold out? Yeah, because that's the one I want. I'll wait until they restock that, thanks. I don't want nothing else. I want the 445. Or the 447. Actually, 447 would be nice. The X1's not a bad printer. I have it. I used it. I like it. The only thing I don't like is the ribbon cables for the connections. Well, we're getting dangerously close to modern politics, and I want to avoid modern politics, but this is a base constitutional issue. No governor or president in this country has the authority to shut down businesses like this. It's illegal. They're not allowed to do it. There is no provision in the Constitution that says this is the supreme law of this land unless there's an epidemic. Then the law can be thrown out. That provision doesn't exist in the Constitution. So they have no legal authority to tell businesses they can't be open. GameStop is desperate. They're about to go bankrupt. The president and the governors of these states have no legal authority to shut down businesses for this reason. It's not constitutional. It's not legal. They're going to do it anyway. They are doing it anyway. Also, stay-at-home orders for citizens aren't legal. Martial law is not legal. There is no provision in the Constitution for martial law. Therefore, it's not allowed. Period. End of discussion. Doesn't mean they're not going to do it anyway. Traveling? Driving? What's the difference? Traveling and driving are the same thing. I mean, there's no difference. Well, I guess technically, if you're a passenger, you're traveling, and if you're the one driving, you're driving. I don't know. I don't understand the distinction there. Um, Correct. If you properly set the printer up, you pretty much never have to mess with it. The only time you might have to mess with it is if you pick the printer up and move it, then you might have to mess with it a little bit because things will shift a tiny bit. Now, don't get me wrong. I think businesses need to close down, and I think people need to stay home. Okay, but you don't throw out our entire basis of law and order to do it. Okay. The only sovereign citizens that I've ever met wear badges and robes. Those are the only sovereign citizens I'm aware of. Oh, I think you're going to do it, JC. I think you're going to kick ass. Well, an officer can pull you over anytime he wants. I can walk up to you and put a gun to your head and say, "Give me your wallet." And guess what you're going to do? You're going to do exactly what I tell you to do, motherfucker, or I'm going to make art with your brain matter all over that wall behind you. Okay? So I have the power to do that, but I don't have the lawful authority to do that. There's a difference between enforced and lawful. The Constitution defines what's or it's lawful. The courts define what's enforced. They don't always match. Cops and judges. The only sovereign citizens I've ever met are cops and judges. They make up whatever law they want and enforce whatever they want, regardless of what the law actually says. A sovereign citizen. Now, so how can we get businesses to close up, and how can we get people to stay home legally without throwing away our constitutional republic? Yeah, I understand some of the sovereign citizen stuff, admiralty and common law and braids on flags and other bullshit like that. A lot of the stuff the sovereign citizens put out there isn't wrong. They're just doing it the wrong way. For example, driving is a right, not a privilege. I will argue that until we are dead. Driving is a constitutionally protected right. I have the right to peaceably assemble. I have the right to travel without hindrance throughout my nation. And to make a law saying otherwise is illegal. The courts have correctly recognized that the right to travel includes any common conveyance of the time. Now, that does not mean the government can't require you to have a driver's license. Driving is dangerous, period. Human beings are not made to go 75 miles an hour, period. Okay? We're made for about 15 miles an hour. So anything faster than 15 miles an hour is exceeding what our biological systems were designed for. So there's nothing wrong with that. Most of the stores that are closed now are closed voluntarily, or the governors have made illegal decrees telling the stores to close. So how would I get businesses to close and citizens to stay home legally? I would ask them to. I would say, would you please stay home? And here are the incentives I'm going to give you for staying home. Okay? Because I don't think you guys realize how precarious this situation is. If this happened 1 year ago, we would not be having this live stream right now. I would probably be in a body bag somewhere. I'm not kidding. I'm dead serious. I'd probably be in a body bag. Because if they would have told me to close my porno shop in New Jersey, I would have told them to go fuck themselves. And I would have used my shotgun to enforce it. I would not have had a choice. I would have had no choice. It would be better for me to die at the hands of police fighting to keep my store open than to let them close me. I'm not kidding. Because if that store was forced to close, I'd be done. My cost of living in Pennsylvania was $4,500 a month. Do you think I make $4,500 on this channel? I make about $800 on this channel. Okay? $4,500. That's just to pay the mortgage, the utilities, and my debt payments. That's not even counting food, my internet, my cell phone, my car insurance. That's not even including any of that. Yes, I would have. I'd have loaded a dildo in the end of that shotgun and said, F you. Because if they would have closed me for even 2 weeks, I'd be done. I would have lost my house. I would have lost the business. I would have lost everything I own. No, we're talking about constitutional stuff, not modern politics. We are going to avoid modern politics like the plague. You want that? Go watch one of those channels that does that. I would have had no choice. I mean, you think this plague, you think this pandemic is bad? Really? You think this pandemic is bad? Come back and talk to me in 3 months. Okay? You come back and talk to me in 3 months when 30% of the population has 3 months past due rent, and the plague is over, the crisis is over, and the landlords say, time to pay your past due rent. You come back to me when that happens and you see how good things are. See how many people die when they're homeless. I mean,
People don't understand the economic damage of a shutdown is going to be. They just passed a $2 trillion stimulus package, and we're going to get $1,200 if we're lucky. My sister's rent is $1,200 per month. If this goes down for 3 months, she's going to have a $4,800 rent bill due. You think the landlord's just going to say, oh, no problem, it's a pandemic, forgiven. Yeah. My dad, from what, I don't know the exact details. Hey, Jiraj Lafier, thank you for the 111. I appreciate it. You know, wait until the past due bills for all these small mom and pop businesses, their rent, their lease, their utility bills, and they can't pay them. Okay? I mean, if they were to shut me down for 3 months a year ago, I would be $20,000 in the hole. How am I going to recover from that? I'm not. They're going to foreclose on my house and they'll take it. That's it. There's no way for me to recover from that. Done. No recovery. Okay? There's a lot of people who are going to experience that. We're not seeing it right now because we put a hold on rent and mortgage payments. Okay? Now, if you have a mortgage payment and they mulligan the mortgage payment, meaning they defer the payment to the end of the loan, like I got my sister car payments done, I told her, I was like, Sarah, call them up. They might say yes. The worst they can do is say no. They said yes. They gave her a 2-month deferment. Now, what that means is that her March and April payments are now due May and June. Okay, so no extra interest, no extra fees, and she has no past due payments. They deferred the payments 2 months ahead. Okay, so in that case, you're fine. Renters aren't going to be able to do that. Okay, because those landlords, that's their income. They can't just defer it 2 months as if it never existed because you lived in the house for 2 months. Okay, so wait until this crisis is over. Wait until this pandemic is over. Wait until we lift all the stay-at-home orders, and then see what these landlords do to all these people who couldn't pay their rent for 2 months. Yeah, you haven't seen shit hit the fan yet. I'm loving New Mexico. I'm not exactly sure what Southwest Tex-Mex is. I mean, there's more places that sell things like burritos and stuff like that. I assume that's Southwest food. We went to the Chili Hills restaurant when we first got here. Delicious food. They love their chili, which confused me at first because the same words are used. So he said red or green chili. And I was like, I don't know. Because when I think red or green chili, I think, beans, sauce, and ground beef chili. Like actual chili. Beef and beans and sauce, that kind of chili. And they have red and green. Red is mild, green is spicy. But here, that's not what they have. It's a sauce made of chili peppers. And it's like adding a hollandaise sauce to your eggs, or ketchup or something like that. It's a sauce that's made from chilies, and they have red and green. And the problem is, they can both be spicy and they can both be mild, and it changes from place to place. So, like the green chili sauce that I got at Chili Hills was fucking amazing. Oh my god, I want like a jar of that, and I want to put that on my eggs every morning. Okay, but then I went to Twister's, and the green chili sauce was spicy. Yeah, more like salsa. Yeah, the color of the chili pepper, I know. But I was used to, Colorado green and red chili, the beef kind of chili. So he confused me. He says, we want to try both? And he's like, okay, we'll give you Christmas. And I was confused. I was like, I have no idea what I'm about to get. And then he gives me these two little things. And I was like, oh, okay, chili sauce. It's like a salsa kind of thing. Or, what do you call that?
I don't know. But anyway, it's a sauce. Like enchilada sauce. Yes, that kind of stuff. I'm not a fan of red. It tastes like burnt refried beans, and I don't like it. It's not a bad flavor. It's not hot or anything like that. I just don't like it. Green in the mild form, I like. In the spicy form, a little too spicy. There's some things that I love spicy, but there are some things I don't like spicy. Like chicken wings, nuke my mouth. Okay, drop a nuclear detonation right inside my mouth, and I'm happy. Okay, but my eggs and my hamburgers and my burritos, I don't want them spicy. I don't like them spicy. So it just depends on what you're eating, I guess. See, Tabasco's not spicy. Tabasco's mild. To me, Tabasco's mild. I'll put that on anything. Actually, my favorite is Crystals. I love Crystal sauce. I don't know. They called it red and green chili. And I didn't like the red. I mean, it was fine. There's nothing wrong with it. I just didn't like the flavor. But the green was delicious when it's not spicy. I don't like it super spicy. And the problem is, you don't really know if it's going to be spicy. Because everybody's idea of what is and isn't spicy is different. So what I would consider spicy, someone else might consider mild, and someone else might consider crazy hot. So there's a lot of what ifs on there. Yeah, Tabasco sauce and eggs is very good. Crystal's Tabasco sauce, Crystal's hot sauce is also really good. I like that. Back east, I got it at Dollar Tree, but I don't see it around here, so it's not available around here. Although Verner's is available around here. Yeah, that shit's good. It's ginger ale. I don't know. In college, they had these ones called 911. You had to sign a waiver. The waiver was just a gimmick, but still, no, they were pretty hot. I like my wings hot. Although, yeah, Crystals, Louisiana. Doing pretty good, Alden. Keep my victims happy. Yeah, Tabasco sauce I would not qualify that as hot. I would call it spicy, but not hot. Yeah, I bet. I've never tried a ghost pepper yet, and I probably shouldn't. Now, when it comes to hot, there's two different kinds of hot. You have really, really hot, and then you have melt your skin. I don't like to melt your skin hot because it has no flavor. It's just hot for the sake of hot, and it burns your lips. It doesn't taste like anything. It's junk. You're getting burned for nothing. Now, really, really, really hot foods that are flavorful, those I love. Make them as hot as you can. I'm fine with that. But the heat for the sake of heat, with no flavor to go along with it, fuck that. You're just burning your lips for nothing. Exactly. There are some things that burn and only burn. There's no flavor. It's just burn. And it's like, why? It's dumb. I bet. How many Scovilles is a hot pepper or a ghost pepper? Pretty up there. Then they have those Reaper peppers. They're like a hybrid ghost pepper called Reaper or something like that. Crazy. Yeah, see, if they have great flavor, if it's not simply a sear your lips off kind of thing, I love that. I love the flavors. Like, oddly enough, I love the sriracha sauce that Papa John's had. They had a sriracha. It's too bad I couldn't freeze it. I tried. It didn't last. It didn't survive the freezing process. But their sriracha sauce, it was spicy, but not crazy spicy. But it had so much depth of flavor. You could actually taste all the different kinds of seasonings and veggies that were inside the sauce. The flavor palette was huge. It's like a high dynamic range photograph. There was just a lot there. Yeah, some people just like the pain. Some people are just masochists. Hey, I guess my noise gate's not working. Because it's picking up everything. Carolina Reaper, yeah. That's it. I heard that was pretty nasty. Indian? I don't know what you mean by Indian. The grass dies from it? Yeah, I guess so. Here's a nuclear inferno grass. Now he has Pepper X. Should have saved that Reaper name. Now he's got to use other things because he already used Reaper. I just bought some more green beans and corn because Walmart had them on sale for 50 cents a can, so I bought a case of each. 24 cans of each. Because if you don't keep refilling that stock, you'll eventually run out. You just got to make sure you practice FIFO, first in, first out. Very important. Ah, yeah. Like curry. Okay. Yes, I think it's good. As long as it's not overly hot, yes, I enjoy it. The one kitten's right here. He's my baby. He's getting his pets. Nosy is floating around somewhere, probably in with Michelle. He is such a handsome cat. He's got just beautiful facial structure. Yeah, that's happening here too. Walmart here is limiting 2. So 2 of any one item, and that's it. Which is kind of annoying because we drink a lot of the American clear soda, and 2 is not enough. Actually, Ender's not named after. Well, I guess he's kind of named after a printer, but not actually. One of you guys suggested calling him Ender, and my first thought was Ender Wiggins. It's one of my favorite science fiction book series. He was the protagonist in the series. It was Ender's Game, and I just love that name. And well, it also happens to be the name of a printer set. Really, ours is. Everything is 2. Well, most people don't stock up on frozen because it's perishable. You have to keep it frozen. But canned goods, you could just stick on a shelf. Like that. Like that entire half of that top shelf there, those blue boxes and the ones next to it, it's all tuna fish. Well, the problem with SodaStream is flavor. I mean, I actually had one. I don't think I brought it with me. It was pretty old. But it might be worth it if I can find a local source of pelletized CO2. Yeah, Orson Scott. Um, the I don't like seltzer water. Ugh. I hate that so much. I actually prefer non carbonated, like juice mixes. Well, if you can get pelletized dry ice, it's very cheap. If you're buying the canisters from SodaStream, yeah, it's very expensive. Although I guess I could start fiddling with making my own syrups, to flavor it with. The problem is I'm never going to be able to do it cheaper than just buying it. I mean, I get a 2-liter bottle of soda for 69 cents. There is no way I'm ever going to be able to make it cheaper than that. I mean, it cost me 20 cents just for the water. We can't use tap water for drinking. It's very, very hard. Very nasty taste. It's safe,
but it doesn't taste good. Yeah, apparently, one of the rocket guys online, one of his most popular videos was when he tried to make carbonated milk. The video exploded for some reason. Apparently, it wasn't very good. Well, you can take the actual SodaStream canister and you can unscrew that piece on top. Okay? Now you have to be careful not to overfill it, but you get pelletized dry ice. You put the canister on a scale, you tar it out to 0, and then you add pelletized dry ice. I have neither and both. I have what's called community water. So I don't have my own well. There's a pipe running to my house with a meter, and I pay a monthly water bill. And the company is not city, it's private, but they're getting the water from a well, because that's where you get water from around here. It's not the PETG roll. Yeah, send me a picture. Twitter or email. Either one. Then you add the exact amount of pelletized CO2, dry ice, to equal the amount that says on the bottle. Then you close it. That's it. You just refilled your SodaStream bottle. Because if you're buying them from SodaStream, it gets very expensive very quickly. Oh, really? Nice. So my water is well water, but it's not coming from my own well. That was a mandatory requirement of whatever house I got. I had to have community water because digging a well out here in New Mexico in the mountains is very, very expensive. $12,000 to $15,000 per attempt. Well, if you don't use pelletized dry ice, you have to chip apart a larger piece of dry ice, and you're going to have a lot of waste. So the point of pelletized is there's no waste. Probably not that long unless you keep it in a cooler, probably for a couple of days. Well, yeah, if you have a large enough tank, that makes sense. But if you have access to pelletized dry ice, it's very, very cheap. You're talking about a couple of dollars will get you enough to fill 10 SodaStream bottles. Yeah, it probably is pronounced tear. I've heard people say that before. Yeah, it's phonetically T-E-H-R, so yeah, tear. Really? I'm surprised your freezer didn't pop open. Well, a large part of why your dry ice would go gaseous overnight in a freezer is because you expended its energy, bringing down the temperature of everything in your freezer. But if you put it in a cooler by itself, it doesn't have to cool anything. Once the temperature reaches equilibrium inside the cooler, you simply have the BTU loss rate of the cooler itself. So if you were to put it in an extreme marine cooler and you were to actually fill it, it would probably last for quite a long time. Oh, that's cool. Expensive way to get it, but that's cool. Just chatting. We were talking about PPE and what's safe and what's not safe to 3D print as far as making stuff like that. What did I do with the mask? There it is. 3D printing masks that are actually usable and safe.
making little hooks to open doors and press buttons and stuff like that. We showed everybody in Tinkercad how to make the actual modifications. So I showed how to actually make the modifications to the file to make it 3D printable in Vase mode. And we actually made a modification. We converted the 3-hole pin version to the 4-hole pin version for you European folks who use 4-hole punches instead of 3-hole punches. So, lots of how-to and discussion. Hey, it looks like I've made $2 so far in the chat. Oh yeah, that's right, because the one guy gave me $2. So it looks like 10 cents in AdSense and $2 in revenue. Plus I got $22 on PayPal. So you guys rock. Yes, the sword was printed in place. And it took a hell of a effort to get it to unstick. Because there's little zit line that connected each of the shells. If you go to my, do I still have it saved? Yes. You go there. Both the 3-hole and the 4-hole are in that Thingiverse listing. I did both the Prusa version and the RC3 with visor version as well. Don't need that. I need that. So what I did to make sure I could free this up was I did not print it all the way up. I printed to here and stopped. And then what I'll do is I'll print this separately and use 3D glue to close it off. But that allowed me to remove the entire insert. And then I was able to use a hammer to beat the pieces apart. I literally took this piece here. It's covered in dents. And I literally took this and just beat it. And I kept beating it until each piece popped out. And now I have, it's probably going to scare the shit out of the cat. Not too bad. But there you go. Now I have my big, giant sword. My sword of RBO Doom. Then I have to actually pound it into the ground to close it. There we go. But yeah, that's fun. That's a lot of fun. I could probably make it slightly bigger, but not by much. This is pretty much max volume. I would have to go multi-piece to make it bigger. This is 240%, I think. Or I might have done exactly 200%. I don't know. A little over 200%. Yeah. That's fine. So a little over 200%. Actually, let's find out. So there's 100. There's 200. Yeah, so probably about 240%. Yeah, 240. Yeah. 3 is fine. Yeah, that's fun. I don't block anybody, and I didn't get hundreds of emails. So Google must have filtered it. Let me check email. PETG problems. Mark. The print doesn't look bad. Oh, I see what you mean. The Ender one's a lot smoother. While the Predator one has a rough finish. Well, isn't that interesting? And that's the same roll? That says roll 1, roll 2. and then you did it with roll 1, and you got the exact same result. Okay. Huh. Boy, that is weird. Here's some more pictures. Yeah, the Ender one looks very clean, and the Predator ones look like they have a rough surface, like they're a matte finish. No, the sword's not vase mode. Dude, that's just weird. Does the Predator have an all-metal hot end? Or is it PTFE lined? Hello, Alex from the UK. What's all the text files? Does PLA print okay? Do you see if you print that cube in PLA on both the Ender and the Predator, does it have the same thing where it looks a little different? I mean, the print looks good except for the surface finish. That's just weird. It is PTFE lined, okay. And what about PLA on both machines? Is there a visual difference with PLA? Because if you have the same visual difference with PLA, then it's probably something wrong in the hot end. So the PTFE tube not correctly lining up with the nozzle may be causing some. I don't. How would that work though? Even if you scratched the filament, it's melted. Maybe you have a burr on the nozzle. That's why I want you to do it with PLA and see if you have the same difference. If you have the same difference in PLA, then it's probably mechanical. If you don't have the same difference, then it could be chemical or I don't know.
That's next week, yeah. Tuesday and Thursday, but
I'm live. I'm live.
I'm just letting you know.
All right, Caliber Manx, you have a great day, and thanks for joining in. That's just weird, dude. I'm not even considering any kind of ringing. It's the surface finish is actually different. It looks like it has a cloth-like matte finish on the Predator, while you have the smooth plastic-like finish on the Ender 3. Crank up the temperature to 255 and see what it does. I wonder if the Predator is incorrectly reporting the temperature. So if you're telling it to print at 240, but it's actually printing at 220, like maybe the temperature is off. So try cranking up the temperature and see what it does. If it smooths out, then we just confirmed it. It just needs to be printed hotter for that hot end. If it doesn't change, I don't know. Yeah. Okay. So we have this here. You can see this looks like it's shredded. You know what else could cause this kind of a problem? If your feeder is too tight. If the feeder drive unit is too tight, it can crush the filament, which will cause extrusion issues because it could slip. It's counterintuitive, but when I was pulling the 5 kilogram roll of PLA through the Chiron, I kept tightening the extruder tighter and tighter, and it actually made it worse and worse. I actually had to loosen it. So instead of pulling the filament through, it was just squishing it, which is going to cause an under extrusion issue. And that's exactly what was happening to me. Now, the reason it might work fine with PLA is because PLA is harder than PETG. PETG is very soft. PETG is easier to squish. So you might want to loosen the feeder. If you have an adjustable tightness on the spring for the feeder, try loosening that just a little bit. Maybe 1 or 2 turns, see if that makes a difference. Boy, that is just weird. Why did I do that? Excuse me. Don't disobey me. Oh, I didn't save it. So yeah, my first guess would be something wrong in the hot end. Under temperature, meaning it's reporting the wrong temperature and you need to go hotter. Or that hot end just requires more heat. Or the feeder is too tight and it's resisting pushing the filament, which is going to stretch it out, which is going to give you this look. Your bottom layer looks good though. That could be compensated for with squish, but the bottom layer looks good. What is it? Start with 333 and check from there. Yeah, that's... I kind of wish I could do that on command, because there's some prints that I would love to have that rough matte finish. But having the printer do it without you being able to control it, that's no good. Come on, let me out of the goddamn window. Thank you. Wanker. Sound. Oh, the microwave just turned on.
Sorry.
That's alright. The microwave might be affecting the sound. That's what I'm saying. Try 255 just to see if temperature is an issue. Like if you're printing at 245, but the printer is actually only reaching 235, that might cause a problem. With PLA, 10 degrees isn't going to make a difference. Hey, Vaughn! With PLA, 10 degrees isn't going to make a difference. With PETG, it could. It's just another diagnostic thing, just to check. You know, if you make it hotter and the problem goes away, well, then you may have figured out the problem. But also check that feeder unit. See if there's any grinding going on, too. See if you see any ground up filament powder at the feeder. Ah, okay, then that's the max you can do. Huh. Wow, they usually top out at 260. That's weird. Slow down. If you make it 250 and go to half speed, that'll be kind of similar to going hotter. It gives the hot end more time to heat up the plastic. But somehow I doubt its temperature. My coming out of my butt guesses would be feeder problem, meaning something wrong with the feeder, too tight, something slipping, grub screw slipping, check for chewed up plastic, or something wrong with the nozzle itself. But see, if it was the nozzle, it should do it with PLA too. So that leads me to think it has something to do with the printer. Now you use the same roll on both. So I mean not something to do, something to do with the filament. You use the same roll on both, so the filament itself is not a problem, but the filament's characteristics might be a problem. The fact that PETG is softer. So you may have a problem that does not rear its head with harder filaments, but does rear its head with softer filaments, which leads me to think feeder unit. So I would start there. I would loosen the feeder unit a little bit and see if that helps. So let me show you what I mean by that. Can I find a picture of that? I might be able to find a picture of that. Ah, yes. Okay, Oh, no, wait a minute. No, it doesn't come with the Bondtech. Someone added the Bondtech. Okay, that's different.
Shake that. I can't get what's left on
Just
the
turn it
printer.
sideways.
I did
Start
that,
rocking it.
but it still has some at the bottom. Tried to do that, but
You just gotta keep doing it until it gets it all.
had to make green apple.
It's good.
I just put the last of the juice that you got.
You're gonna have to make foam.
The last of the juice that you got me from the dollar store, I just put in my cup.
Just slurp some of the foam off when you fill it. Yeah, the green apple's pretty good.
Smells good. I ate green apple before, but not in Skittles. You know what I mean?
Your PID tuning is wrong, or your thermistor, thermistors work based on a formula, and you have to tell the firmware the correct formula to use in order to receive the data from that thermistor. So if your firmware is programmed with a different thermistor, you're going to have an offset in temperature. So that's where I would start. Make sure you have the correct thermistor programmed in the firmware. I believe you said it was printed at 245. I'm trying to find a picture of the feeder unit on the Predator. I found disassembled pictures. I need assembled pictures. Everybody's converting it to a BMG. Lots and lots of pictures of converting a Predator to a BMG. I don't know what to tell you. Bad board. Either your thermistor, your heater, or your board is bad. Or programmed incorrectly. It is a Bondtech style? Okay, then I can use this picture. Oh, there it is, right there. So here we have the feeder unit. This screw right here might be too tight. Okay? And if it's a Bondtech style, it's going to be like this. This screw right here. That's the exact problem I had on my Chiron. I kept tightening this down, and it just made the under extrusion worse and worse because it was crushing the filament so much that it was actually stretching it out instead of pushing it in. I ended up having to actually loosen that, and then it worked fine. So I would loosen that. Loosen that like 5 or 6 turns, and see what happens. If it ends up too loose, you can always just tighten it back up again. But my initial suspicion is that this is too tight. Your results are consistent. So because those results are consistent, I don't think you have a problem with a grub screw being loose, because otherwise you would see changes in this. And this looks pretty darn consistent, so I think that's okay. My hunch says that this screw is too tight. So loosen that up a little bit and see what it does. Boy, being able to show my screen is really handy. It's not E-steps because the print is printing properly and PLA prints look perfect. So it wouldn't be E-steps. You can probably send a step adjustment command in your start script. Yeah, that's my best guess. Does the Predator use a flying extruder? Yes, it does. It uses a flying extruder. I didn't know they did that. For people who know what I'm talking about, the extruder floats in the air here. That's what these spring wires here are for. So that's the extruder, which limits the length of your Bowden tube. That's pretty cool, actually. There's another picture. So, flying extruder. That's pretty cool. Technically, both these pieces together are the extruder. So this piece and this piece together is what you call the extruder. And then individually, this is the feeder and this is the hot end. Feeder and hot end together make extruder. Cool. That's pretty darn neat. Now I want one. Yes. Very cool. No. Money. I know. Huh, they have Jolly Ranchers juice mixes too. Yeah. The problem is I've had bad experiences with Jolly Ranchers in the past. They soften your tooth enamel. No, the candy. Yeah, I bet it sold out. $3.39 for that? Holy crap.
It sold out?
Accuracy won't change. I mean, even if the extruder's moving around, as long as the filament is fixed inside, the accuracy is not going to change.
Hey, what's nose? He's eating it.
Huh. So it's not squishing the filament?
Stop that. Enter. Hey.
Apparently, if anybody needs PETG, Walmart.com has PETG.
Stop it. Hey. You. Enter. Stop it.
Oh, clear plastic sheets. 8x12 clear plastic sheets. Why is it so expensive? 8 pieces for $22? Ouch. That must be for something specific. How about filament?
Hey. Stop eating it. Really? Really?
Looks like none of it's shipped by Walmart, though. It's all third parties.
Stop eating.
But they do have Kodak PETG. Thanks, Ian. That's 10 euros. That's probably like 12, 13 bucks. I appreciate that. Yes, those are actually pretty darn accurate. They work very well. I have one from, I have not used it yet. What's it called? Begins with a Z, I think. 18 Canadian per piece? That's a lot of money. What the heck is that? I think it begins with a Z. The Nimble. The something Nimble. It's something Nimble. the remote direct drive. I actually want to combine it with put it on like an Ender 5 Plus or something like that to lighten up the top end. Since the Ender 5 Plus, that ZY flip, Zesty Nimble, that's the name, the Zesty Nimble. The ZY flip means the length of that cable never has to change or vary. Okay. That makes a lot more sense now. I was thinking 4 by 8 inches. Come on, don't be a pest. There we go. No, I haven't seen him. Probably. Oh, I did one of these in ABS too. So, one of the original style. That's ABS on the Weedo. The only problem I have with the Weedo is they need a larger power supply. It's the print bed will go to 120, but it has trouble maintaining it, and every now and then it'll drop by too much, and you'll get a heating error. Although at 100 it seems fine. The advantage of a 120 heat bed is that it heats up the chamber more, so you get a hotter chamber, which is good for prints. Well, I also printed Dragon 2 in ABS on the Weedo. That's actually a pretty impressive print. And that's Vase mode. You see it's not entirely Vase mode compatible. The gentleman who designed this is actually making modifications to it to make it more Vase mode compatible. But yeah, that came out real nice. I want to make a model rocket of this. Just because it'd be fun. Yeah, that's what this is. To open doors, press buttons, stuff like that. But I designed it so you hang it on a little lanyard, because you don't want to be sticking it in your pocket because you're contaminating your pocket. Because remember, this end becomes contaminated once you use it. Okay, so the idea is it sits here and you just grab it when you need it, use it, put it back. This way you don't have to worry about touching the part you're not supposed to touch. I call it a no-touch hook. Actually, now that I got a bunch of these, I gotta get some key rings. I'm gonna put this up on Etsy just for the hell of it. So something I'm gonna work on this weekend is trying to get this working. I want to be able to successfully 3D print this and have it work without me having to beat it into submission. Do what? It's not like I can control it. Yeah, that's jammed in there good. That ain't coming apart. Not easily. I always set my line width to match my nozzle width, unless I'm not doing that for a specific reason. But yes, if I have a 0.4mm nozzle, I set my line width and my nozzle width to be the same, 0.4mm. When you have your line width be larger than your nozzle width, you're adding a pressure gradient to the filament extrusion, and that can cause you problems. Not always, but it can. Now, one time where you can get away with that is with Vase mode. Vase mode, because it's a continuous extrusion where you're never retracting, you can get away with some things that you normally can't get away with. So anytime you see me do a print, like for example this, where I'm extruding at 160% of normal extrusion width, well, it's Vase mode, so I can get away with that. So by setting my extrusion multiplier to 1.6, what is that? What, 0.7 millimeter? 0.4 times 1.6, 0.64 millimeters. So I'm telling it to extrude 0.64 millimeters of plastic, which makes this a lot stiffer. The end of the sword should have a cap. You mean this cap? That you can do that to close it. Is that what you're talking about? Well, this here, I intentionally printed it without the cap. Okay, I will print that separately and glue it on there because I knew it was going to stick. So by not printing the cap, I'm able to remove it altogether. If you really want to get a true reading, paint the tip with a Sharpie. It needs to be black. Reflective surfaces do not work properly like that. So that allowed me to remove this and beat it into submission until I could remove all the individual parts, which you can't do if you leave the cap on. So that was on purpose. But now that I got it all freed up and I have my gigantic mega sword, now that I have that, now I can put the cap on. But now I can also do that.
You got them petrified, they won't come back.
Good. They should be afraid. Be very afraid, kittens.
They're in your room.
Oh, here's the latest boxes. So here's the latest Alien 3D box. I already ate the candy.
What candy was in it?
I don't even remember. Oh, it comes with a little LED string, and it comes with some nippers. And then we get Polymaker Teal Polylight, Green Gate 3D, Spearmint Recycled PETG, Monoprice Silk Green High Gloss Pale Green. And then Bright Gold from Keen Village Plastics. Keen Village Plastics is pretty good stuff. And we got a sticker. My nozzle is hardened. Alien 3D. So that's the Alien 3D box this month. Yeah, I love the custom boxes. That was my idea, by the way. I'm the one who told him to do that. He did one custom box, and I was like, dude, can you do that every month? He's like, what? I was like, do a custom box every month. He's like, yeah, I think I can do that. That's my idea.
I like the shower. I'm getting ready to.
And then this is the maker box.
What candy?
This hasn't been opened, so we're gonna get some yum yums out of this.
I wonder what yum-yums you got.
The yum yums you're not gonna get.
I'm just curious what it is.
I know, but you ain't getting it. Okay. I will have to skin them alive if I don't get my yum yums. Like, yeah, there it is.
Foot.
Looks like Starburst.
Yep.
Come here. Yep, Starburst. Oh yeah, those are getting eaten right now. Oh, and they're both pink. They're both strawberry.
No, you fucker.
Oh yeah, watch your mouth.
Sorry.
Actually, she just sent off the final revision today. They're making the final changes, and hopefully within the next week or so, we'll be submitting the opposition. I love Starburst. So we get Fortress LL White. This is a PE. No, wait. Polyolefin Matrix. Elastic memory, enervation resistance, high wear laceration threshold. It's lightweight too. Matte PLA from Filament. I like matte PLAs. Matte PLAs are cool. JMT sticker. A Polymaker sticker. Carbon fiber PCPBT from Push Plastics. Cool. And from IC3D, TPU 70D. So it's a pretty rigid TPU. So basically, you guys know the original thing. They tried to come after me with a DMCA claim, which was easily defeated by me simply disputing the DMCA claim. But now, they tried to do something new. They somehow convinced some moron at the USPTO to approve a trade dress registration for something that's illegal to trade dress. Okay? That's a trademark. Okay? This is something that you would use as a mark or a logo. This is a trademark. This is not a trademark. This is a physical design. Okay? No. That's trade dress. That's a mark or a logo. Okay? Where's some other examples? Yeah. That's trade dress. It's a mark or a logo. This is not trade dress. This is covered by patent. The actual words are covered by copyright. The overall thing here is trade dress. This company submitted a line drawing of a 7-hexagon tessellation. That's all they did. They took these 7 hexagons right here. They took these 7 hexagons right here. That's just a 7-hexagon tessellation. That's all that is. Right? They took those 7 hexagons, submitted a line drawing of those 7 hexagons, and said, we own that. Now, that is an illegal trademark. You are not allowed to submit a trademark of your product design. That's what patents and copyright are for. Okay? You can't use a trademark to enforce patent-like protections. A trademark is not supposed to protect your product. A trademark is supposed to protect your mark or logo used to identify your products. The McDonald's arches, the Disney Mickey Mouse, the Coke bottle shape, the Jurassic Park dinosaur skeleton logo, you know, the starburst little burst with the name in it. It's supposed to protect your mark or logo, not your actual product. You're not allowed to submit a trademark application for a product because you're bypassing the copyright patent system and abusing trademark to get patent protection. Worse, trademark is forever. There's no 17-year, 20-year limit like with patents. Now you have to defend the trademark forever as well for it to be valid. So it's possible for, if the company that makes Jurassic Park stops using this logo in any form of commercial usage for 5 or 10 years, some other company could come out with something called Jurassic Park and they could own the trademark to that. It has to be commercially viable, in current use, and actively protected. And it has to be largely exclusive. You have to basically be the only one using it. You know, who else is going to use? Who else is going to use the K-Stick logo? Well, no one except that company. I mean, who else is going to use the Walmart asterisk with the Walmart name? No one. It's Walmart's logo. Why would anybody else use that? That's why there's requirements that the logo or mark be distinctive. It has to be artistic and distinctive and unique to you. It has to be your marker logo. My marker logo would be the T3DP with the cat and the rocket and the print head coming out of the T and the 3. That would be my trademark. That would be my marker logo. It's something unique to me. 3D Printing Nerd doesn't use that. You know, Chelsea doesn't use that. No one else uses it. It's unique to me. It's something I made up to be a mark to represent my company. So when people see that mark, they go, oh, today's 3D print. Okay, that's distinctiveness. What they did was in violation of every single rule of the trademark system. They took a line drawing of my product, also their product, and submitted the line drawing, which is a patent, but they submitted it as a trademark. Now here's the really Apple's Apple logo. Exactly. Well, it's not just an apple, okay? It's an apple with a bite out of it, and it represents the Apple company, okay?